Brainer. Try it today for the best workout of your life. For more, visit apexptwellness.com.
I can't help but rave about the wonderful countertops that Northern Stone has put in my home. Now, something new to rave about. Tile. Northern Stone has a few openings for tile installation right now. You will be so impressed with Northern Stone's tile installer and his attention to detail. The backsplash is the final jewel to finish your project. So, if you already have tile or you need to find tile, Northern Stone can help. They have beautiful tile in stock, and right now, their talented tile guy has a few openings. Go to northernstone.com.
Sight on Sound knows car audio and its evolution over time. For the longest time, it was basically like listening to a conch shell. Then things got better with stereophonic sound. Then HD was next. Until now, high-res audio. Your sound system has never sounded this crisp, this clear. And you'll find all the cutting-edge sounds at Sight on Sound. With products fully in stock, a trip to Sight on Sound has never sounded better. Sight on Sound, Main Avenue, Fargo.
Bring it on home from Sight on Sound.
NDSC Safety and Health Conference features keynote speaker 1980 Miracle on Ice goalie Jim Craig. Nearly 100 breakout sessions in person or live streamed, February 21st through the 24th. Register now at ndsc.org.
Stop by Gateway Chevrolet and check out their great selection of in-stock Chevy cars and trucks ready for immediate delivery. Take advantage of invoice pricing on new 2023 Chevrolet Equinox and invoice pricing on new 2023 Chevrolet Silverados only at Gateway Chevrolet. Plus, find out about 2.9% financing on select Chevrolet models. That's right, 2.9% on select Chevrolets and invoice pricing on 2023 Equinox and Silverados at Gateway Chevrolet. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
KQWB, West Fargo, Fargo-Moorhead, and KPFX, HD3 Kindred, Bison 1660. Powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
And here's what you need to know.
NFL teams are continuing to conduct interviews this week for their coaching vacancies. Reports say Sean Payton is scheduled to meet with the Broncos for a second interview on Wednesday. NFL media reports the Chargers will interview Rams offensive assistant Greg Olsen for their offensive coordinator opening. Also from NFL media, the Ravens are interviewing Browns receivers coach and passing game coordinator Chad O'Shea for their OC opening. Reports say Cowboys running back Tony Pollard suffered a high ankle sprain and a fracture in his left leg during the loss to the 49ers. He will require surgery. In college football, Georgia receiver Radarius Thomas was arrested this morning on felony charge of false imprisonment and misdemeanor battery family violence at Athens Clarke County Jail. And at the Australian Open, there are 3 American men in the quarterfinals for the first time since 2000. Ben Shelton and Tommy Paul picked up wins overnight to join Sebastian Korda in the final 8. I'm Nick Cope.
You've got the Insiders.
How you play today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered.
That's what living is. That's right. There's 6 inches in front of your face.
Bringing you what you need to know and a whole lot more. Topics you care about, guests you know, and the conversations you came to hear. The Insiders are presented by Proceed. Need seed? Think Proceed.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
Insiders.
Rob Hipp and Andy Rickoff.
Start of another week here with you on the Insiders. Inside our phenomenal Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Andy Rickoff, Micah Bindi. We're giving Rob Hipp some time this morning. You know, we're going to give him a couple of segments here because the Cowboys lost. It's a tough loss. Wasn't a very pretty look for the offense. Defense was phenomenal for him. We're going to give him a little bit. You know, this is when you get as far as they did, when you get second round, it's right there. You can see the Lombardi trophy, and you can just start reaching for it, and then it gets taken away from you. We're going to give him a little bit of time today. He will be on. He'll be on the show with us. We'll talk through some stuff with him. But it's a tough morning for Cowboys Nation out there. They should be proud of their team. Made it pretty far. Not many teams make it as far as they did. That's tough. But you know that doesn't do anything for you when you lose a game and your season comes to an end. So we're going to give Rob a little bit of time. Me and Mike are with you. We will break down the games from over the weekend. Honestly, I don't even think the Cowboys fans are probably the fans feeling the worst right now. I think they're probably second worst compared to Bills fans. Bills had everything going for them. Team of Destiny felt like it was kind of their year a bit, and they don't even make it to the AFC Championship game. That's a big falling short if you're the Buffalo Bills. And that was at home. They lost at home. Cowboys lost on the road. Some different circumstances there. So we'll dive into the NFL games. We'll get there and give Rob a little bit of time. And don't worry, fans. I know you're wondering. Yes, we're going to make Rob pay up ice bucket challenge thing. We're dumping a bucket of very cold ice water. Make sure there's plenty of ice there. Just like the tears. We'll get all the tears of Cowboys fans. We'll put them in the bucket along with some ice, and we make Rob Hipp go through the ice bucket challenge.
Yeah, he needs a punishment for that one because the Cowboys look like they cowboyed. They did it. They're not them boys anymore.
I think he also said something like going to win by 2 touchdowns last week. They didn't even score 2 touchdowns, much less win by 2 touchdowns.
Brett Maher could have been their best player.
It might have been.
He made 2 field goals.
He did. He also had an extra point blocked, and thankfully it was blocked, because if it wasn't blocked, it was missing by about 50 yards to the left. That thing was not going to be close whatsoever. He should be thankful that one was blocked for his mental psyche, because then you can say, I didn't miss it. It was blocked. It was the lineman's fault. But he definitely would have missed that one. Nobody felt good about him lining up for any of those field goals, even though he hit them. And then I was hoping the Cowboys were going to go down and score. I wanted them to score a touchdown late, because then it would have come down to a Brett Maher extra point to tie the game and enforce overtime, or you go for 2.
Yeah,
and I would have gone for 2. I would have gone for 2.
Absolutely. Go for the win on the road, too.
Mm-hmm.
And with Maher struggling, you would have went for it to go for 2, get the win, get the heck out of there.
I posted it on Twitter before that drive. Like, when you saw that there was going to be a punt, I tweeted it out. Okay, Cowboys Nation, do you go for 2 if you get the touchdown, or are you kicking an extra point? Didn't get a lot of replies to it in the moment, because it was like a 3-play drive. It was over pretty quick. But I said afterwards I would have gone for 2. And absolutely would have done that, because even though he had made 2 field goals, those don't have as much pressure as this extra point. And he hasn't made an extra point. He had missed his last 5 extra points. And I know they're shorter than that long field goal he hit. And if you're getting the field goals, you should have the confidence to make the extra point. But I'm like, there's something about it being the extra point, and the fact that I haven't made one of those, for that mental hurdle, I absolutely would have gone for 2. And if you don't get it, then you got to answer the questions of why didn't you trust him in that situation. I would have flat out said he'd missed the last 5. And we're on the road, tough environment. We felt like we had a chance there. I'm not going to risk this thing getting to overtime. I'm going to take my chance right there.
And you feel if you're on the road and you're not the better team, they're definitely not the better team, but you have to think that you're the better team in that situation. But you got to go for 2 when you're on the road like that.
Yeah, they weren't drastically the worst team. I mean, they were right there. Cowboys were absolutely right there with the 49ers every step of the way. They made Brock Purdy look pretty pedestrian in that first half. They didn't score a touchdown. Didn't do much of anything. Now, he didn't turn the ball over. That was huge. In the second half, he was very poised and led a couple of drives, and the 49ers were really just kind of controlling the clock. Their ground game finally got going. It was kind of like an NDSU football game where early on the running game, it was not effective. Christian McCaffrey was getting 2 yards, maybe even no yards in some plays. Third quarter, you started to see, okay, there's 4 or 5 yards there. And then fourth quarter, it was like, oh, there's 6, 7, 8 yards almost every single play on the ground. And they were able to just kind of run the clock out and not give the Cowboys much of a chance. I would have absolutely gone for it on 4th and 10, by the way. Instead of punting it with like 2:10 left when they actually ended up punting it, I would have gone for it on 4th and 10, because your defense was not getting any sort of pressure on their running game. Like, their running game was just getting 6, 7 yard chunks, and it had been 2 straight drives of that. I would have said, we're probably not going to get a stop here. I am going to play right here with my offense, and I'm going to, if the season ends, I'm going to end with my offense on the field. That's what I would have done, personally.
Does this game change if Pollard is healthy? Do you think it changes much? I don't know if it does. I
mean, Pollard wasn't overly effective when he was in there, but he's a great player. And again, as the game goes on, you can kind of wear down a team and be more effective as that game goes on. But I tend to think it doesn't change with a healthy Tony Pollard for the entire game. And by the way, I feel terrible for that dude. He has worked his you-know-what off for a couple of years here. He has been a massive piece, and their best running back for 2 years, if we're being honest about it. At least 2 years, their best running back, maybe for the last 3 years. And he's on a contract year, coming off the rookie deal where he hasn't really made that much money. I think he was, a 3rd or 4th round pick or something like that, so probably not making a ton of money. And he was going to get paid this offseason. Now he's got a broken bone, and he's going to have a 3 to 4 month rehab. Someone will still pay him a bit because he should be healthy for the start of the next season. but he's not going to get what he was going to get before. And that really sucks for him, much less the fact that he got hurt in a game where your season's on the line. But everything else that goes into that really felt for Tony Pollard.
Especially running backs, they have a shorter shelf life than any position in the NFL, and they take all the hits, they take the bumps and bruises, and you need that one big contract after that rookie deal in order to make it, I don't know, not seem worth it, but you usually don't get a second big contract as a running back. That doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Usually not, but he was in line for a big deal. And the other thing is the list of free agent running backs this offseason is lengthy, with very, very good running backs, tons of them, and some that could get traded, like maybe a Delvin Cook too, or could get let go from their deal, whatever. So no team was going to be sitting there waiting around for Tony Pollard. They've got another option. They've got somebody else. Okay, well, we can't completely trust him coming off that injury. We can just switch over to this guy instead. That's kind of the situation he's going to be at, unfortunately for him. But great weekend of NFL football. Had the playoffs going. I love divisional round weekend. Had a lot of competitive games. One game that was not competitive at all. Somebody said, I forget who it was, but somebody on Twitter said, big thanks to the Vikings, to the Minnesota Vikings, for making us all believe that the Giants were a legitimate offensive team. I said, yep, that was our bad. We screwed that one up. We made the Giants look like the 72 Miami Dolphins or the greatest show on turf for a game, because defensively the Vikings couldn't do anything. Daniel Jones had like 80 rushing yards. They had 400 total yards of offense. They scored at will on the Vikings, made it look like they were an offensive juggernaut. And the Eagles said, no, we actually have a defense. So we can like try and do things, and we can make adjustments, and we can actually get after the quarterback. So that's what we're going to do. And they made the Giants look like the Giants that we expected them to look like, because Daniel Jones had no idea what he was doing in that game, and he was overly pressured. And then defensively, the defensive line for the Giants looked more like the Little Giants than the actual New York Giants.
Yeah, and the score ended up 38-7, and they made sure to tweet that out, thanking the Vikings for sending the Giants their way. And that just shows how bad that Vikings defense was, and frankly, how overrated. And people are right that this team wasn't their 13-4 record at all.
Still was a 13-4 record. They still won the games they did. But yeah, maybe got a little bit lucky, had some things bounce their way. But that's football. And if they had lost 3 of those games instead, and they were a 10-something team, and you're like, oh, that fits them a little bit more as a 10.
Them more.
Who cares? They were a 13-win team. They earned those wins, every one of them. Maybe they're a little bit fluky on some of them, but they still earned those wins. You had to make the plays, had to get the bounces. That Bills game, everyone's going to say, look at all the things that had to go right for the Vikings to get the win. Well, the Vikings also kind of got the short end of the stick a couple of times in that game, when a catch by Gabe Davis that was clearly not a catch, that should have been reviewed by the refs and never was. And then they had 12 men on the field on 3rd and goal against the Vikings, and it wasn't caught by the defense or by the referees. They had 12 men on the field, and they stopped the Vikings on a 3rd and goal. That made it a longer 4th and goal. They had to settle for a field goal instead of a touchdown. So there were some things that definitely went against the Vikings in that game too, and they still managed to get a win. So 13 wins, that doesn't really matter. They were a 13-win team. But if you're Kevin O'Connell, Kevin O'Connell strikes me as a really nice guy. He doesn't like to fire people. Doesn't like he's got really, really good relationships. He's all about your relationships with people and building this and trust and leaning on each other. So I bet for him it was actually really, really difficult to fire Ed Donatel. He knew he had to do it, but it's probably still really difficult. Like, this is a guy I trusted. He's only been here for a year. I told him I was going to be with him. I was going to have his back, and now we're going to fire him. It's probably really difficult for him. When he watched that Eagles game, he had to be like, yep, made the right decision, because the Eagles have a legitimate defense, and they made the Giants look terrible on offense. They went up and down the field at will. There was not anything the Vikings did that made the Giants struggle on offense when they faced off. So now Kevin O'Connell can watch that game, and he can take a deep breath and go, okay, I made the right decision. Yep, had to fire Ed. Had to move on.
Yep, and then if these struggles still happen next year, then it's just like, yeah, a lot of this was still. I still believe this is a lot personnel too. I'm going to say. I'm going to say 50-50 blame. Ed Donatel wasn't scheming the defense to help how bad the personnel was, but then the personnel wasn't helping Ed Donatel's scheme.
The personnel is old and a little bit slower, and it's not what it needs to be. And they've missed on the draft. Look at all the cornerbacks they've missed on in the draft over the last couple of years. I mean, how many first and second round cornerbacks have we had that have just not panned out? Some of them aren't even in the league anymore. I mean, I think Mike Hughes is kind of on the league. He was like the 4th or 5th cornerback for the Lions this last year, but he's not around. Andrew Booth didn't play much at all this year.
Haven't heard Trey Wayne since he got hurt with the Bengals.
Exactly. Even Jeff Gladney, that's a horrible story. Rest in peace. But before that, even he didn't pan out. He had off the field issues. They had to cut him. They've missed on so many corners.
And Andrew Booth doesn't look any better as of right now.
No. He was injured his whole entire college career. He's going to be injured the rest of his NFL career, however short that may be. Lewis Cine got hurt too. Can't really predict that one. They haven't really drafted any great D linemen. Who's the last great D lineman they drafted? It had to be Daniil Hunter. I don't know anyone they've drafted that's really had a big impact. They haven't drafted well on the defensive side of the ball. And their great players they did draft a while ago are older. You can't blame them for that. That's how life goes. You get older. Like Eric Kendricks is a bit slower. He just is. Now, a couple of years ago, Kendricks was still top 3 or 5 linebacker in the entire NFL. And I'll stand on that with everything he did in pass coverage. But he's just slower now. And Harrison Smith, I still think, is a very good player, can play at a high level, but he's not going to be able to do it consistently for 18 games or 18 weeks, and he's probably going to have a couple of weeks where he's hurt and banged up because he's older. And Daniil Hunter, I don't think, fits your system you're doing anymore. And other guys as well they're not. Patrick Peterson's older. Patrick Peterson could not stay with Isaiah Hodges that entire game. He made Hodges look like Tyreek Hill out there running away from him. And the Eagles said, we got guys that can actually run and keep up with them, and they shut him down. I think he had 4 catches the whole game.
One of the best defensive players might have been Duke Shelley, who they got from the Bears practice squad.
Exactly.
Didn't even draft him.
Yeah. So there's absolutely personnel things with the Vikings, too. But Ed Donatel was not a good defensive coordinator. It was definitely a bit of both. But when you're Kevin O'Connell, you can look at and see that Eagles-Giants game and be like, okay, made the right choice. We can move on. I think they've brought in Brian Flores for an interview, former Miami Dolphins head coach. He was with the Steelers this last year. Some other things that go into that with his lawsuit against the NFL. I have no idea what's still going on or not going on with that whole situation. But I think he ran a 3-4 in Miami. I love his personality in terms of I think he is a aggressive mindset on defense. I'm going to attack you. We're not going to sit on our heels and play a soft zone and just let you pick us apart the whole way down the field. We're going to be aggressive, and if you beat us, but you're going to have to beat us with us in your face and putting some pressure on you, and you have to be uncomfortable when you beat us. I like that mindset. They're bringing in some other guys, too. That whole thing will work itself out. Maybe have a Vikings guy on sometime this week to recap the season a bit and look at what the future looks like. They also don't have a lot of draft picks this next year. I think they only have 4 or 5. So not many draft picks for the Minnesota Vikings on this next season. But we'll focus more on the games from yesterday and Saturday. If you have any thoughts on those games, the teams that advanced, what to do in the future with some of these teams as well, who maybe had the biggest or worst loss of the week and who had the biggest or best win of the weekend, send those our way, 701-476-1660, the number to call us on the Epic Companies hotline. You can also text us at that very same number. Or you can email in. The Rick Electric email inbox is open for you today. Studio at Bison1660.com to email into the program your thoughts from the NFL games there over the weekend. As you've got 4 teams remaining with the Bengals and Chiefs. We play it in Kansas City. Get those refunds, as Joe Burrow would say, for the neutral site AFC Championship game everyone thought was going to happen in Atlanta. And then in the NFC, you got the 2 best teams. Let's just be honest about it. You have the 2 best teams. We all knew that basically the entire season. Fans of every other fan base didn't want to admit it, but these are the 2 best teams. And Brock Purdy's a really cool story, but Brock Purdy is not Brock Purdy without that Niners defense, without George Kittle making circus catches, and Christian McCaffrey being Christian McCaffrey.
And Kyle Shanahan being an offensive genius.
Exactly. And that's not taking stuff away from Purdy, but I think even Purdy would admit, I got into a pretty good situation when I had to come in. They're the 2 best teams, the Eagles and the Niners. I'm very much looking forward to seeing who wins that game because it is 2 just ultra-physical, aggressive teams. Defensive lines are great. Offensive lines are great. Quarterbacks are playing very well, and skill position players are up the wazoo on both sides of the ball. They're just phenomenal teams. Very much looking forward to seeing how the rest of this NFL season works out. But we do have the 4 best teams, I think, left. You can say the Bills would be in there, too. I was very back and forth on the Bills-Bengals. I thought that game could go either way. The Bengals controlled it. We'll dive into some of that stuff as the show goes on. We do have a couple of guests lined up. Dexter Werner joins us every Monday talking NDSU men's basketball. Not a great weekend to be talking about the Bison because they dropped 2 games at home, the men did, against ORU, and a classic back-and-forth game early on. That first half was amazing. Seemed like the crowd was really into it. The bucket hat giveaway went well. Saw a lot of bucket hats in the stands from the pictures online, but lost to ORU mainly in that second half. And then I thought just kind of fell flat a little bit maybe against Kansas City. You put so much energy so much just attention and focus into ORU, it's hard to get up to that same exact level for Kansas City. Maybe you fell flat a little bit. We'll get Dex's thoughts on that about 11:30 today on the program. And then at noon, voice of the Jackrabbits, Tyler Merriam, will stop by, go over the news from late last week with Coach John Stiglmeyer deciding to retire and sail off into the sunset, ride out on top, won a national championship. Obviously a long, extremely successful career at SDSU. Congratulations to him on a great career as a head coach, and now gets to spend time with the family, with the grandkids that he loves, and do all that stuff. I'm sure he's still going to be around the program. He's not completely leaving it. He'll be around it. He'll be talking with Jimmy Rogers, their new head coach, and they'll be doing a whole bunch of stuff there. And they got to replace a couple of coaches as well, because obviously Stig, you need to bring Rogers up, so you need a new DC. I believe their defensive line coach actually left to join David Braun's staff at Northwestern, oddly enough. So a weird tie there. So I think they got to replace maybe a couple of coaches, if I'm correct on that. So we'll get Tyler's thoughts on all of that, and just what the offseason looks like for their football team. Because if we're Bison fans and we got to, like we said when you lost the national championship game, okay, we got to look in the mirror, you got to toughen up, find out where you fell short, and fix that for the next season. You got to find a way to fix that for the next year. One of those things you got to again look, be completely honest. What does SDSU do well? Well, they're a really good team. They're probably the team to beat. I don't think it's a probably. I think they are the team to beat. Obviously, they're national champions. That's why they're the team to beat. But they've also beaten the Bison a number of times in a row here. So you got to find a way to get over the hump against them. That's no shame. If you got one team that's better than you just got to find a way to beat that one team, and they will. We got all the confidence in Matt Entz and this coaching staff and some of the players they're bringing in. But we'll talk with Tyler about what the offseason looks like here for SDSU. We'll do that at noon. If you got any questions for either of those guests, feel free again to send those ones our way. Also going to give away some more boat show tickets all week long here on The Insiders. Got a special keyword for you. Text the word BOAT, B-O-A-T, BOAT, to 701-476-1660. Gave away Monster Jam tickets last week. Giving away some boat show tickets to the 2022 the 2023. I haven't done that. This is the first time I did that this year. The 2023 Red River Valley Boat and Marine Products Show, January 27th and 29th, this weekend up at the Fargo Dome for the Boat and Marine Products Show, one of my favorite ones to go to every single year. I'll be there again with some buddies, trying to talk one of my buddies into buying a pontoon, but not any pontoon, one of the luxury ones that they've got, so then I can use that pontoon all summer long. That's kind of my game plan.
That's the best way to do it. Get on your friend's boat. You don't get your own boat.
No.
You just get friends that have boats. That's the right way to do it.
Then when you go on the boat, I'll bring the snacks and stuff. I'll bring the beverages.
Yeah.
You get the boat.
That's the courtesy.
I supply the fun.
That's the courtesy.
Exactly. Yep. So that's the plan at the 2023 Red River Valley Boat and Marine Products Show for yours truly. And again, text the keyword BOAT to 701-476-1660 for your chance to win a couple of tickets to the boat show. Take a break. We'll come back. Dexter Werner in a little bit, but also our thoughts here on the weekend of NFL football and the teams that are left and the teams that are gone. Where do you go from here for a couple of them? That's next when we come back on The Insiders.
You've got The Insiders on your Bison Nation station, Bison 1660.
We take great pride in really doing all the research and the work behind the scenes to make sure that our products just work.
We have our own staff member that helps pick the hybrids and the varieties that work in our area. It's meant for you, not for somebody 200 miles away.
We test our seed locally. We produce our seed locally, so we get to see our production fields, where they need to be, and if they work there.
Need seed? Think ProSeed. ProSeed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
Everyone wants to lose a few pounds for the new year. Not us. I'm Rachel with Waxing the City, an exclusive facial and body waxing studio for men and women. We love you just the way you are. Come to Waxing the City and join Club Orange. Not only will you get silky smooth skin when you join Club Orange, you'll get 20% off services each month and 10% off of all products. Join Club Orange at Waxing the City on 13th Avenue just west of Target.
Let's go there. Waxing the City.
Corwin Public Wholesale is conducting a special used vehicle buyback. Any used car, truck, or SUV, we will buy it. Trying to trade your vehicle and not getting what it's worth? We will buy it. Need some extra cash? We will buy it. Whether it's worth $500,000 or $50,000, we will buy it. We want to buy your vehicle. Corwin Public Wholesale, right on the price, right on the I-29 frontage road, Fargo.
Hey, Bison Nation, Andy Reckoff here, and I just wanted to take a moment to say we absolutely love our Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Love being there every day to bring you the very latest with NDSU athletics, but we're not the only ones that like to be in the studio.
Michael Tutsi with us here live in studio.
Scott Anderson joining us, Director of Multimedia, NDSU.
The athletic director's inside the studio. Matt Larson's joining us. I told you we weren't the only ones. Fuel your future and join the growing team at Theraldson Ethanol today by going online to theraldsonethanol.com.
In 1953, Bill Samuels created a simple bourbon, while Margie Samuels worked on her creative vision. A bottle hand-dipped in red wax, wrapped in a hand-cut label, filled with handcrafted bourbon that elevated flavor and remains unchanged as of today. Aromas of woody oak, caramel, and vanilla, with a taste that is sweet and balanced with caramel, vanilla, and fruity essences. Every barrel of Maker's Mark is aged to taste, not time. Maker's Mark, the star of your home bar. Please drink responsibly.
We love our pets, yet what they do to our carpet is frightening. Pets go outside and inside many times each day, and their paws carry in things you don't want to think about. Old dogs, sick dogs, excited dogs, they all have accidents. Plus, the pet dander settles in your carpet. Steamatic will clean and sanitize your carpet and do it safely for your pets and family. Call Steamatic today.
Steamatic, call 232-4707.
Whether it's the FCS, NFL, or productivity at work, we have you covered.
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
It's the Insiders on Bison 1660.
Welcome back inside our Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Theraldson Ethanol produces 175 million gallons of ethanol per year and roughly 400 tons of livestock feed per year. You can fuel your own future and go online and join their growing team at theraldsonethanol.com. I'm holding some 2023 Red River Valley Boat and Marine Product Show tickets in my hand right now because you can text the keyword BOAT to 701-476-1660 to give away or to register for a chance to win a pair of tickets. I'm going to get it right at some point. A pair of tickets to the boat show this week, January 27th through the 29th at the Fargo Dome for the boat show. Just text the keyword BOAT to 701-476-1660. Give those away here at the end of the show today and hopefully for most of the week here as well as we get closer and closer to the boat show on the 27th. But now in studio with us, we'll have Dexter Werner here in about 5 minutes. We'll give you a chance to vent. We talked about it a little bit in the opening segment. This show can be therapeutic for our listeners. It was after the national championship game. It was therapeutic for me. It was kind of my therapy lounge or chair, if you want. After the Vikings lost, got some things off my chest. We have the Rickoff's rant. When I get really worked up, I'm like, I just got to rant. I got to get something off my chest because it's going to drive me nuts the whole show if I don't. So because we don't want the whole show to be ruined, Rob Hipp is here with us in studio. We gave him that first segment just to kind of breathe and get over it a little bit, focus, center himself. And Rob, is there anything you'd like to get off your chest? We'll be your therapist for a segment with the Cowboys loss.
Well, the first thing is, Andy, good to be here.
Yep.
First thing is, I was not here the first 20 minutes, not because the Cowboys lost, because I had to. That was not why. I didn't want to avoid the situation. But we had a baby checkup. All is well with the baby, so I had to run down there and be with Bridget for that. Took a little bit longer than expected, but baby's fine. So that, got to get that.
That's good.
That's a number. That's a good thing. I'm going to start positive.
Yeah.
Baby's okay. Baby
then
boy.
who cares about the Cowboys game? We'll move on.
So
Take a break.
yeah. So secondly, Micah can vouch for this. We were talking last week. I said, what does the Cowboys have to do? I said, Dak has to be consistent. Which Dak will we get? Got a good Cowboys defense that held the 49ers down. I mean, the defense wasn't bad.
No touchdowns in the first half.
Bonehead decisions by Dak Prescott. And I told you, I was rocking and rolling, had a lot going on yesterday. I was on the phone for 2 hours catching up on some stuff with a buddy of mine. And then I flipped the game on. And what do I see as soon as I turn it? It was towards the end. I went back, of course, watched the highlights after. But what do I see? As soon as I turned the TV on, almost threw his third interception. And I was like, dude, come on, Dak. And then it was just downhill from there. And you know how it ended. Everybody knows. So, yeah, I've not been a big proponent of Dak since he came in. Maybe it's because I'm a Romo sympathist. I don't feel like he was – I feel like he would have had some rings if they would have had a different defense. But I've never been a big Dak Prescott fan. And last night, validated that I have no faith in him. He cannot
I think you got
find ways to be consistent, Andy.
I think you got both Daks in the same game.
Yeah, you got the good one and then the bad one.
A couple of really good drives. I think he looked good, was moving the football. But, yeah, the two turnovers are why you lost the game.
And they were terrible turnovers, too.
Because you have the pick in the first half that basically gives the 49ers the ball at like the 25 and gives them 3 points. They're already in field goal range. Then they didn't get a touchdown because the defense was playing great for the Cowboys. So you give them 3 points there, and then you threw a pick in the red zone that took at least 3 points, well, possibly, off the board because you never know with Brett Maher, although he didn't make 2 field goals in the game. So that's a 6-point swing right there. Like that was kind of the ball game. It felt like. So, yeah, I would agree with you. I think the turnovers from Dak were definitely your difference maker. And Purdy wasn't great, but in the second half he was poised. He made
pretty good.
He pretty good. Good enough, and he doesn't turn the ball over. Again, no turnovers from Brock Purdy, and that's the difference. You go on the road, you don't force any turnovers on defense that forced a ton of turnovers for the Cowboys, and your quarterback throws 2 picks. That's
all I had to get off my chest was I'm not a Dak fan, still not. And, we had Babe Laufenberg on last week, and whenever you mentioned Maher, it was funny because we were wondering, how's Maher? It's funny what you said because you said we never know what you're going to get with Maher. That's based on that one game because you kind of didn't know but he responded. He did well. But Babe was talking
missed
about
that first extra point.
That was blocked.
Oh, if it wasn't blocked, it was missing by a good 20 yards, though.
It was blocked.
It was blocked outside. It was already outside of the upright when it was blocked. It's not looking good.
Ball in the left hash. He hit it towards the left pole already, and not to mention it was sideways when it was. It wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah, it wouldn't have it was blocked.
So thank goodness a hand got in there to block it to deflect that to make it a little bit easier. But Babe said it was funny because the media was there, and instead of watching during the practice, instead of watching all the other players, there was 30 people, 60 eyeballs on Maher there practicing kicks. The pressure was on him in that game.
And Tristan Vizcaino, whoever they brought in.
So, it is what it is. But, hey, another year, another loss. We'll be back next year ready to go.
Vikings and Cowboys fans. That's our motto,
you love
baby. It is. I love it. I do love it. And, I took a little bit of joy in the Cowboys losing just because I'm not a Cowboys fan, and I think they get overly hyped. That's one of the reasons why it always feels worse for Cowboys fans. Because everyone on every national sports talk show the entire year, all they talk about is the Cowboys. Even if they're bad, talk about the bad things. All they talk about is Cowboys, Cowboys, Cowboys. So you get this in your mind that we're a great team. We're the best team out there. Everyone talks about us. Well, you're a wild card team. You didn't even win your division. You're probably not going to go to the Super Bowl. It's very hard to go on the road 3 straight weeks and get to the Super Bowl.
I talked to a guy at ESPN once that anchored some shows there, and he did it for a limited time. He didn't anchor. He produced shows for the anchors, but he said that they were required to talk about the Cowboys. That was a requirement by ESPN, is that they had to have something on the Cowboys all the time because that's what people wanted to hear about. I'm here to say, as a Cowboys fan, people probably don't want to hear about the Cowboys much anymore, especially in this area. People don't care about it. I'm the only guy that's brought any type of inkling to Cowboys to North Dakota now because I'm a fan, and maybe John and I. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot. And guess what, Bison Nation? I'm done. It's over.
The Cowboys, LeBron, and the Lakers. Like your 3 must-have topics. Now LeBron and the Lakers can kind of double up on that, basically. But, yeah, the Cowboys get too hyped, and that's why you think they're going to be great, and then they like most teams, they don't get to the Super Bowl like most teams, but it feels worse because all they do all season long is talk about how good the Cowboys are when really they're probably just not quite that good.
Who's the next contender now for America's team? If you, take the Cowboys out of the equation, now in the NFL, who would be America's team? That's a tough one.
I've always kind of thought the Steelers.
Think so?
I think their following is really, really good. And they're just a model of consistency. Had 3 coaches in 50 years or whatever it is, and Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. I think there's a model of consistency. They don't always win it all, but I think the Steelers are just kind of that's who my pick would be. Them or maybe the 49ers.
It sounds American. You think hardcore, blue-collar, tough workers, steel workers, Steelers, America.
Yeah. Tough, hard-nosed football, defensive football, that kind of stuff, That's why I would probably say Steelers. But
all right,
yeah, that's my. So nothing else you want to get off your chest?
That was basically it. Okay. I hated to see some injuries, but you know what, man, it is what it is.
I felt really bad for Tony Pollard.
Yeah, no, and that's where I was alluding to. You hate that for him, and because he had a phenomenal season.
He's going into a contract. It was in a contract year, so he's going into free agency, and now he's going to be in there with a broken fibula or whatever it is.
So that's tough. But outside of that. What did I tell you early on, Andy? My heart wants to believe, this is our year. My gut tells me no. My gut did not lie yet again.
Yep. And if I was a Cowboys fan, the reason that one would sting even more is because, one, you were every bit as good as the 49ers. You could have won that game. You absolutely could have. And you've already beaten the Eagles once. You could win that game. Right? So you had a legit chance to say, well, maybe we could get there. Some things go our way to the Super Bowl. But you're probably going to lose Dan Quinn. He's probably going to get a head coach, I would think, a head coaching job somewhere else. He's interviewed for every single one of them. So then you're talking about next year. that defense might not be as good. Like, maybe it is. Maybe find another great coordinator, but probably not going to be as good. You might lose some players on the defense, too. And then you're going to say that now the offense has to do even more. You got to score even more. Maybe you lose Tony Pollard in free agency. Now you're like more on Zeke. This felt like the year where you had everything and you had to capitalize on it a bit.
I felt that way. I mean, when Romo was there, and the infamous "it wasn't a catch" there with Brian and those guys back in the day, and I felt like it was their year back in the day when that happened, but it's just they cannot find ways to win in big situations, especially down in the postseason. Credit them, you get a win, but you get a win against a terrible Tampa Bay team, which I was happy to see that. It's like, bye-bye Brady. But the next round, no. Mm-hmm. You got to get through that.
Okay, so you're good. You're good, though. You're good.
And now I'm eagerly waiting. Mike is back there kind of smirking because he knows the ice is coming eventually.
Yep. Oh, yeah. There will be. I already brought it up.
Made that.
We're going to do the ice bucket. That'll be done probably tomorrow, parking lot way. We'll Facebook Live it. We'll make sure it's out there for the public. But we'll get that done. And I think after that point, we take a hiatus as a whole broadcast team here, whole show team. Because I've done it too. Done stupid bets on the Vikings. And maybe take a hiatus on team bets for just a little bit.
Probably be a good idea.
Probably a good idea.
At least I came through with the Panthers finishing second. I got one thing right this year.
Until we go to golf, and then I'll let Kyle Emanuel make bad bets on Tiger Woods winning tournaments.
As long as we don't have like a put a tee in your mouth and hit the golf ball off your mouth, I would be fine. No bets like that.
Yeah, fair.
I'm really good with the driver though, Rob. We could do that too.
I'm going to stay away from that one. I'm going to stay away too, even with Micah. What I'm not going to stay away from is the Epic Companies hotline, though. Our good buddy Dexter Werner, nice enough to hang on there for a few minutes as we rambled on talking Cowboys there. Dex, did you watch the Cowboys game, and were you at all surprised that they lost in that one?
I'll tell you what, guys. I did watch the game, and no surprises here, right? I think I think the Cowboys have become one of those teams where you set the bar kind of low, and even if they don't get it, you're not too surprised, right?
I would agree with you.
I feel you on that. Perfect. Way to sum it up, Dex. Thank you.
Exactly what Rob Hitt needed today after that game for the Cowboys there last night. Well, Dexter Werner joining us as he does every week to talk some NDSU men's basketball. And not a great week for him there, Dex. Obviously a couple of home losses, not the way you want any homestand to go. We'll start off with the ORU game. I thought it was a classic back-and-forth affair, that they were really well prepared for Oral Roberts. Hit a bunch of shots in that first half, and then the second half just weren't able to hit all the shots. ORU's offensive game plan is I think it's just nearly unstoppable in this league with what they've got, the players they've got at their disposal, and they kind of ran away from you a little bit there in that second half.
Yeah, I think it was kind of one of those situations, Andy, where potentially one of the worst things that could have happened to the Bison was starting that game hot from three, because I think if you look at the game plan that a team like NDSU is going to take into an Oral Roberts matchup is, I don't think you're planning on turning it into a shootout, and just naturally the guys got hot to start, and that's kind of the direction that game went. And it's not a knock on NDSU, but if you want to talk shootout, I'm taking Oral Roberts most days. So I think if you're really going to buck up and compete with those guys for 40 minutes, I think they kind of fell into that trap of getting up and down and playing Oral Roberts' game, and that's a tough one to win.
Dex, we knew Oral Roberts coming in. We knew how good they were. We've talked about Max Asmus so much. Vanover had a phenomenal game, 15 points down there for the 7'5" guy. And then a guy to me that really stood out that maybe I wasn't expecting, I knew he was good, was Isaac McBride. He also was over 20 points. Is this Oral Roberts team, if you're an opposing team, are you concerned about them as this season continues on just getting better?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same as any other Summit League team. They're gonna, continue to gel and start to put together their best basketball for March. So I think, especially a team like Oral Roberts with a bunch of their guys back, which is kind of rare to say at this time in the Summit League. They're a team that's going to keep building, and they're obviously where they're at right now because of that.
Dexter Werner joining us. What were your impressions of Connor Vanover at 7'5", able to do what he does? Haven't seen that a lot in this league. Just what are your takeaways?
No, I mean, obviously, if you talk about someone coming in at 7'5", that's just something you're not accustomed to saying in the Summit League, and there's a reason he was at Arkansas before that, right? I mean, he's a big guy. He's played in some good basketball games, and he knows how to play. I think if anything, teams are going to have to figure out that they got to get a little more physical with them. Guys like that are super tall and lanky, they don't want to play through contact, especially someone like him who, kind of that weird characteristic that he leans more to the pick and pop at his size. So I think he's just the guy you got to get as many bodies on him as you can and bump him and just make it harder for him to move.
In the second game of the week, I think sometimes it would have. You talk about how games are ordered or structured, right? I think having this ORU game first is good because you get a couple extra days probably to prep and prepare and the buildup of the game a little bit, right? But then when you got Kansas City coming in after them, you put so much work into ORU because that's the top team in the league. There's so much energy around it. The fan base was pumped up for it. It seemed like a pretty good atmosphere inside the Shack. And then Kansas City comes in and you don't have that same level of gotta have it ism, if that's even a word, to that game, and you fall a little bit flat. Did you feel any of that in that game against Kansas City where you build up so much for ORU you can't get up to that same level for Kansas City?
Yeah, I think it can just be one of those things where kind of like a perfect storm happened, not in favor of the Bison. Not only do you have a heated battle with Oral Roberts on Thursday, it's a high energy game. Guys are going up and down. It was a very intense game on Thursday, and then on top of that, on Thursday night, Kansas City's up at UND, going ice cold from the field and losing by almost 20 points to UND. So not only do those guys go up and get smacked on the road, you lose a tough one at home. Those guys are coming to Fargo hungry, and Kansas City probably played one of their better games of the year on Saturday in in Fargo, and I think it showed.
Yeah, Shamarley Allen went off in that game, 28 points, and the Bison had an opportunity there at the end, Dex, and I wanted your take on it as a former player. You're going down, you're battling, you finally regain the lead. You were down by 9 at one point. You go up, and it was just turnovers. And you and I had mentioned this on the broadcast. When you look at the stat line, there's not a whole lot that stands out except those turnovers leading to second chance points. How do you clean that up? And as a young player, how do you just kind of get this loss out of your mind and start focusing on the next game at hand?
Yeah, I think if you look at it, on top of the perfect storm, you got still a young Bison team, right? I'm not a huge fan of using that excuse rolling January, February, March, but it is what it is. They're still young. They put together a great 5-game stretch, but I think that's kind of where we saw the maturity level, take a step back, and that's natural. It's not like it's a big thing that you need to be worried about, but I think that if you look at that Oral Roberts game, NDSU's got to find a way to turn that not into a 2-game slide in a game against Kansas City that could have been won, in my opinion. And I think that can just be kind of the effects of having the younger guys out there and guys that haven't had a crazy 2-day battle like that where you drop one at home and you got to turn it around. So with that, it kind of is what it is. The guys got to move on short-term memory because, again, now you got a UND team coming down on Friday that got a win against Kansas City team that just beat you, and that's a team up in UND that's also just young and they're trying to prove things as well. So for guys that haven't been part of that UND NDSU matchup a whole ton, it's going to be a dogfight on Friday, and those guys are going to want to come down and try to get a win.
Yeah, you got you got to figure something out here because it was the same thing last year where you faced ORU and then Kansas City came in and beat you. And I think the Bison beat ORU last year and then Kansas City came in and beat them. It was just kind of the same storm where you have that and you get up so much for ORU that it's hard to have that same level of intensity for Kansas City, but they came in and got the victory over NDSU. You mentioned the game up next, one game this week for both the men and the women. The men are home 7 p.m. Friday night inside the Shack, Bison Nation. Make sure that place is packed and loud. The UND coming into a town trying to prove that North Dakota is still a Bison state. And we know how that first game went this year, 71-49, a whooping up there in Grand Forks. UND is going to have that on their mind when they come down here.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you beat them handily at their place. Expect to see some different schemes out of UND. I know Coach Saylor does a good job getting his guys ready. He's a good basketball mind, so he's going to have some plans, and I would expect to see some different reads. I don't think you're going to see the exact same matchup. I'd imagine UND is going to break something different, and it's going to be up to the guys to adjust on the fly and make some plays.
Does that come at a good time, too, just having that one game versus 2 in the week, Dex, after these 2 losses?
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about it with Coach Richmond, right, Rob? It's just one of those things where you got to kind of hit the reset button and get these guys back on track. They went on that streak, got the 5 games, and then, to be honest, I think I agree with Coach Richmond a little bit. I think they got away from what got them those 5 wins in a row, right? I think we just kind of saw some uncharacteristic stuff, characteristics of a young team, some mistakes, and it's not like the wheels are falling off, but there's going to be some ups and downs, and a team like this, that's a 2-game lull where you got to find a way to get out of it and turn things around so you don't start skidding here late in January. So it's going to be up to the guys to have a good week. You get a couple extra days to prep, do some rehab, get healthy, make sure you're ready to go on Friday and kind of jump back at it.
Yeah, late January, obviously, and end of February, you really want to be playing your best basketball. So these are a big couple of weeks here for all the teams on the Summit League, both the men's and the women's side. Final question for you, from me, and on a positive note, Andrew Morgan's performance obviously had, I think it was a career high in points for him. You're seeing that, I think, on a more consistent basis from Andrew Morgan now as well, where he's having those kind of pop-off games, playing well defensively. Have you seen anything different in Morgan's play the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think that from Morgs, we're just seeing him kind of figure out that aggression, and he's willing to make it a dogfight a little bit, which is, I think, exactly what he needs to do. And I think this team needs that a little bit. I was talking to Coach Richmond this weekend too, and I'm just dying to see a little bit of edge, a little fire and intensity out of the guys. And I think Andrew Morgan's one of the guys that can do that. And it's easy to remember that it's easy to forget that he's not the oldest guy either. Morgs and Grant and guys like Bowden have stepped into leadership roles younger than you would probably expect them to. So those guys are learning too. I think he's starting to figure some things out and just figure out that he can bring some intensity that helps get the whole team fired up.
Of course, Dex, you do a great job on the analyst side. Do you ever have a chance to interact with the guys, or have you ever had an opportunity to go and speak to a team?
Yeah, I've had plenty of opportunities to get out and speak to other teams. I've been in NDSU locker rooms post graduation, gotten to talk to guys, and I think that the one thing that NDSU does have going for them is that it's a group of good guys, right? I mean, you look at just across the board, you got some local kids, you got guys like Josh Stride, who literally might be one of the nicest humans I've ever met. Like, it's almost miraculous that he can crash the whole boards and play with the intensity that he does with how nice he is. But just I think it's always a silver lining in a good spot that you got guys that they're going to buy in and they're trying to figure it out, where you're not dealing with some troublesome stuff in the locker room, bad attitudes. Overall, I think that they got guys that are trying to do it the way that the program's used to seeing it done, and hopefully they can get that back on track. But I think hopefully at least they have the right guys for it.
How much fun did you and AJ Jacobson get into over the weekend? I know it was alumni weekend, so I was just guessing there.
Well, it was alumni weekend. It's an important weekend. I think that flies under the radar too a little bit, but just having a program and guys where you can get people back in town, have a game. We do a golf event once a year, and we'll try to get a group of guys down to Sioux Falls too. But just having that, having that companionship built in with the NDSU basketball program is something that we're trying to continue to grow and get people on board with, and keep getting people back to Fargo to remember what they were a part of.
Love it. Thanks, Dex. I always appreciate your insight into this team. We'll do it again, and looking forward to taking that team up the road and beating them at our place here this weekend.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll see you guys on Friday.
There you go. Dexter Werner, nice enough to stop by and give us some time on the Epic Companies hotline. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue to dissect what we just talked about there with Dex. Big weekend for both the men and the women's basketball teams. We'll recap what they did for both the men and the women and get you ready for this upcoming week when the Bison take on UND, men at home and women on the road. That's up next here for you on The Insiders.
A sports talk station that Bison Nation deserves. Bison 1660.
That was not the countdown to a new year. That was the countdown to your new countertops. Don't start a new year with your old, outdated house. Instead, call Surface Specialists of the Red River Valley today. In just a few hours, they can repair and refinish your outdated countertops, sink, tub, or shower. Call Surface Specialists of the Red River Valley at 701-526-3800.
Surface Specialists of the Red River Valley. Don't replace, repair, and refinish. Jeremy here at Horsch in Mapleton. Did you know that Horsch manufactures premier planting, seeding, and tillage solutions right here in the FM area? We are proud to be a family-owned business based out of Germany and would love for you to join our team right here in Mapleton. We offer competitive pay, full benefits, and paid family time from Christmas to New Year's. Please visit horse.com to view our current openings.
Turn up the heat with a bowl of brisket chili or green chili chicken soup to celebrate National Soup Month at Twin Peaks. And no one does happy hour like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, we have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu second to none. And don't forget about our 29-degree man-sized drafts. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, scenic views.
At Wimmer's Diamonds, we believe in love, in family, and traditions. Hi, this is Aaron Wimmer inviting you to visit our new showroom where we can help you find the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. For more than 103 years, our family's been helping your family celebrate the special moments with beautiful reminders of love. Wimmer's Diamonds, 4582 32nd Avenue South in Fargo.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
Partly sunny to start your new work week with temperatures falling to around 25 by late afternoon. Breezy with a northwest wind 8 to 13 miles per hour, increasing to near 20 as the day rolls in with wind gusts as high as 30, and overnight mostly cloudy with a low around 10. This weather update is brought to you by Brady's Service Center in Moorhead. Brady's Service Center is your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs, and with donuts, breakfast, and lunch items daily, they're also your one-stop shop for all your road trip needs.
Experience is what builds the future of glass at Cardinal IG in Fargo. Cardinal IG is leading the industry in the development of superior glass for the residential window industry. Their highly motivated and talented employees design and manufacture the best glass in the industry. This January, Cardinal IG would like to say thank you to Araz Khalid, who is celebrating 10 years, and to Cyril Dermian and Teresa Arap, who are celebrating their first year at Cardinal IG. To view open positions or to apply, visit cardinalfargo.com.
Here for you, for all the Bison football coverage you can handle.
These guys do an unbelievable job, and you want to know what's going on in Bison sports, tune into the Insiders.
The Insiders on Bison 1660 and 92.7 FM.
Welcome back in, 11:50 on the program on your Monday. Hope everyone's doing well. If there's any Cowboys fans listening, Rob gave you a nice little rant, a good chance to get something off your chest. Any fans, of the Bills? And Tyson Willis is out there. If you need, a chance to let something off your chest, we'll be that kind of a therapy couch for you a little bit. We'll sit here, we'll listen. I'm a good listener. I've been told I'm a good listener. So we'll sit here, we'll listen to what's going on. We'll help you try and fix it moving forward for your NFL teams that lost this weekend and didn't get to the spot that they wanted. I think there's certain teams, like if you're a Giants fan, you're like, man, we got throttled, we got killed. But also when the year started, you probably weren't even expecting playoffs. You're like, this is a year, new coach, let's tear this thing down and get good in a couple of years. Well, you won a playoff game, so you're way better than expectations. Whereas if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you're like, when the season started, they were the betting favorite. Everyone was on the Bills bandwagon. They got Von Miller. I know he got hurt, which really hurt their pass rush, which was non-existent in that game. If you're a Bills fan, you're thinking, if you go out in the second round of the playoffs and if you make it an AFC Championship game, it feels like you fell really short of what the expectations were for you coming into the year. So it probably feels a little bit more depressing, a little different for those kind of fans. Them and I think the Cowboys fans who, again, got their hopes up too much, I'll say. You had to go on the road for 3 games. You probably weren't going to make it to the Super Bowl, but I understand why they were maybe upset as well.
And they got manhandled at home by an offensive line that was rough. Like
Cordell's all they got, and Cordell's all they need, baby.
What they need.
All they need is Cordell Volson, 67 there. He did have a false start in the game.
It happens.
It happens.
He
also manhandled that defense.
You just have that fast twitch muscle that you're just ready to go. That aggression was ready.
Mm-hmm. I think even their center was hurt in the game, had to leave for like a couple of plays. And at that point, Cordell was the only starting lineman that was still on the field, holding it down for Bison Nation, pro Bison everywhere.
We could have pro Bison Super Bowl, Trey Lance and Cordell Volson.
Could happen. Could see it, which would be awesome.
The fix is, if you're not a fan of the Cowboys or the Vikings and your team lost and you kind of have that gut bad feeling, switch over to the promised land of the Cowboys or the Vikings, and that'll fix it because you'll have that feeling every single year and you'll understand what it's like. And that's all you got to do.
Yeah,
and then you'll be fine. See, there's the silver lining, Andy.
When the Vikings lost, everyone said, oh, that one had to suck. I'm like, honestly, no. Like I've been through so many worse losses than that. That was like a normal game. Normal loss. Now, the last play was dumb. It was stupid. You threw it for 3 yards on 4th and 8 with your season on the line. But overall, the game was just a game.
The
There's
whole
nothing
season was
crazy.
like that. The whole season was like that. Up and down, defense not stopping anybody, the offense appearing and then disappearing and then reappearing later in the game.
It's like that wasn't even a bad loss. It really wasn't overall.
I had somebody like hammering me because they just wanted to rub it in, and they were laughing obnoxiously about the last play that Dak had, and I'm like, well, what else are you going to do? I mean, you're basically...
the last play was dumb. It was stupid, but...
But, I mean, it's like, what else are you going to draw up, And he's like, oh, that was the worst play in the history of the league. I was like, no, it wasn't. You had a 99.9% chance of losing, and you tried something and it didn't work.
The last play was weird. I mean, you have Zeke snapping the ball to Dak.
Get your athletes out there.
I would have just lined up like a normal formation and thrown it like a bubble screen, and then if you need to, pitch the ball around, you do what. It wasn't going to work anyways. No matter what you did, it wasn't going to work. But the thing they lined up in it looked dumb and weird, but that wasn't why they lost the game by any means.
No, it's nothing to like go and laugh obnoxiously about. And he's still tweeting about it this morning. I'm like, okay, dude, it's over. Move on.
Yeah.
You cheer on the Texans. Your team's terrible. They're not going nowhere.
We're airing out Twitter grievances.
Rob Rant again. Texans are terrible.
On the Twitter dude from the Texans. No one even
knows
what he's
Keep me going. I'll call
doing.
this guy out on the insiders here a little
we'll have
bit.
him on the air. We'll hash this thing out.
Let's be Texans fans. That way we can be really irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. This hour of the Insider is brought to you by Rick Electric. When you need electrical work, you need Rick Electric. For over 56 years, Rick Electric has been providing excellent electrical services for homes and businesses. Visit them online at rickelectric.com. We said we were going to talk about the basketball programs, what they did over the week. First off, we had Dex on in the last segment. If you didn't hear that, you can podcast it later wherever you find your podcast. We'll have them there for you, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, also our website, bison1660.com. But Rob, any takeaways from the two games at home, dropping both of them, or takeaways from what Dex had to say?
No, I think, the first thing that Dex had to say that I wanted to bring up is Joshua Stride is a very nice guy. One of the most humble young men that I've had an opportunity to get to know and talk to, and we were joking around in the commercial break, and he always asks, like, hey, Rob, how you doing today? Everything going good today? He's just that kind of guy. So wanted to
he's
definitely
playing a pretty
that.
big role, bigger than I thought he would be.
He's been a huge guy on the offensive glass. Had a couple against Oral Roberts, did a great job against KC, but he is a really nice guy. So I wanted to make sure that I highlight that and talk about him and acknowledge that. The second thing is, I mean, it's like Dex said, the wheels, they're not falling off. It's a young team. I know that you can't keep going back to that excuse, but I don't know how it sizes up to football, and I'm not definitely trying to make this huge comparison of basketball and football because it's two different sports. But at the end of the day, there's still a mindset that you have to follow, just like any sport that you're involved in. And Coach Ince said sometimes, with the young guys, it may take them a year to get into a rhythm and a routine. I think maybe on the basketball court it can happen a little bit quicker, but I still will fall back on that, saying it's a young team. And I think that sometimes there are those inconsistencies, not putting the guys down, but it's something that they're going to have to learn and work through. Because I feel from a side of broadcasting the game, Andy, I kind of feel like sometimes maybe some guys take it too much upon themselves that they have to be that playmaker when the rest of the team is faltering. And you've just got to – the only way to work through that's reps, like anything, right? You've got to continue to work through it, figure out where you're getting wrong and what you're doing wrong, and evolve from it. And I think the more these guys continue to work together, the losses sting, but they're going to learn from it. They're going to move on, and we'll see them rebound from it. And I know that sounds like an excuse, but it's the truth. You have to find the silver lining in it and say, what can we do better? And I think that's what it is. These guys just have to realize not one person needs to take that complete load on their own shoulders.
It's about consistency. And you got some players that are very consistent, and some players where it's like it's a little up and down. You're just trying to find that sweet spot and be consistent, and then every once in a while have a great game where you rise above that, but you don't want to have the lows. And they're fine right now. And the sky's not falling. I don't think the wheels are even falling off of this team because they're still third in the Summit League. Now the issue is they have fallen behind SDSU by a couple of games. If you just look at the standings, obviously ORU's number one, and I think they're going to be really tough to beat this year. They just look like a very, very good basketball team. Overall, then you got SDSU at 6-2. Oral Roberts is 8-0. SDSU is 6-2. Now NDSU, that fourth loss makes you 5-4, actually in a tie in the loss column with a bunch of teams. They have 4 losses. Western's got 4 losses. South Dakota and Kansas City also have 4 losses. So a bunch of teams right there in the mix for that third spot. The top 2 teams, we know there's an advantage there, right? That if you're a top 2 team, you play on that first day of the tournament, you have a day off, you get an extra day of rest between your first and your second game. You don't have to play 3 games in a row. You play 3 games in 4 days if you win the tournament. So you'd love to catch SDSU. And looking at SDSU's schedule, the thing you maybe point to and take some solaces, they still have to face Oral Roberts. They already lost once against Oral Roberts. They got to face them again at the end of the season. They've got a game against South Dakota still. Obviously, NDSU plays them still. That will be coming up here in a couple of weeks. They have to go to Kansas City, to St. Thomas, and to Western. We just mentioned Western and Kansas City are 4-loss teams, so they're quality programs. You got to go to their place. Kind of strange places to play. I would at least know because I was just at Kansas City. Kind of strange place to play. And you play at St. Thomas. And St. Thomas, that's a tricky team. Obviously, NDSU lost at St. Thomas this year. They got some talent, and I think that's a team that's going to be on the rise in the near future here. Not an easy game at St. Thomas. If you're looking at SDSU's schedule, they've got 3 games here coming up on the road, 26th, 28th, and 30th. There's a remake in there, I believe, from a game that was canceled earlier because of the weather. So at St. Thomas, at Western, at Kansas City, with 1 day off in between all of them. So you got 3 games in a 5-day stretch. Possibly a loss comes there. NDSU, you're going to have to beat them that second time. You're going to have to get the win down in Frost to try and make up some ground there. Maybe they drop a game against South Dakota, or they drop that game at the end of the year when they host Kansas City and Oral Roberts. They host them in back-to-back games. So, it's not over in terms of catching SDSU, is kind of what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, tough games, and we're halfway through the Summit League schedule, and there's still tons of games to play, and standings can be switching constantly. And I like what you said about St. Thomas. They're just a team that sticks around. They just sniff around in every single game. It's hard to put them away. They're a tricky team, and they're a team that no one really has all that high expectations for them because they're D3 to D1. And that's hard to get out of your mind of they're Division 1 now, and they're a solid team. So if you let them stick around, they can beat anybody in this league.
Now the Bison do still have to go on the road. They get Oral Roberts again, too. You got to go to Oral Roberts, which is going to be a very tough game. And you got to go to South Dakota and South Dakota State, which are both, that's probably the 3 toughest games in the league outside of maybe at NDSU you could throw in there as well. But on the road at those 3 teams is going to be very difficult. You do get a lot of other home games, though. Omaha, Denver, St. Thomas, Western, UND, all at home on the back half of this schedule. So there's some positives.
Yeah, we'll see how things roll out. Going back to St. Thomas, they're on a 3-game skid right now, but they've battled some tough teams. I think one of the biggest thing, and we're halfway through, is where South Dakota sits right now. I thought maybe they'd have a little bit better edge at that now, 4-4. But still a lot of basketball to be played. We're only halfway through.
Tons of basketball. Plenty of games left, and we'll see what the Bison do here. Now you're going through the conference for the second time. You're going to see an opponent for the second time, all of them right now, and maybe make some adjustments as you go on through the back half of the schedule. The women are on the road this week at UND on Saturday, and the men are home Friday night against UND. We do have the basketball coaches shows tonight as well at 6 to 7 with Coach Richmond, and then from 7 to 7:30 we'll have Jory Collins, and also I believe Elle Evans going to be stopping by, the freshman phenom who just had a career-high 23 points and helped lead the Bison to a victory on the road at Kansas City for the women, joining us from 7 to 7:30 tonight for our coaches' radio shows. Make sure you tune in for those ones. You can be a part of it and send us your questions for them as well. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Hour number 2 starts up, talking SDSU with Tyler Merriam, voice of the Jacks, Stig's retirement, and where the Jacks go from here. Coming up next.
Rick Electric wants to say thanks for a great 2022 and looks forward to serving you and all new customers in the new year. Plus, Rick Electric wants to say thanks for voting them the best electrical contractor in the Red River Valley. Since 1964, Rick Electric has been serving homeowners and businesses with troubleshooting, repairs, new construction, and over a dozen projects in my home. Rick Electric. Schedule online or request an estimate at rickelectric.com.
It's a new year and a great time to remind you that you should have 2 routine dental visits a year. The best way to stop dental issues is to detect them early or stop them from happening in the first place. It's Amanda, and I smile with confidence because of the team at About Smiles Dental. They've been caring for my family's smiles for years. At About Smiles Dental, their name says it all. Your smile is their top priority. Plan ahead and call now to book your appointments. We love the team at About Smiles Dental, and you will too.
Snow, ice, and below zero temps. Typical Midwest weather, but not so kind to your vehicle. That's why Jiffy Lube of Fargo is here to make sure you have your vehicle in top working condition and ready for these winter roads and temps. Oil changes are the #1 maintenance item that's neglected. At Jiffy Lube of Fargo, no appointment needed at any of the 3 locally owned locations. Jiffy Lube of Fargo, where you can do more in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube of Fargo, proudly serving the metro area for 5 decades. decades.
Hanson Runsvold Funeral Home proudly supports the Bison and appreciates the commitment each student makes to its success. Whether in the arts or other campus activities, these students are our country's future and deserving of our support. Hanson Runsvold is dedicated to helping families look to the future with hope and remember what we do today shapes our memories for tomorrow. Add the Bison experience and live life to the fullest. Hanson Runsvold Funeral Home, an experienced and caring staff with a distinct attention to detail.
When it's time to find a realtor, word of mouth is important. And Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty is a name Bison Nation says often. Todd has helped everyone from coaches and administrators to broadcasters and former players and their families buy homes in the FM area. So many in Bison Nation trust Todd to buy and sell their homes, and you can too. Call Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty today or visit him at 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd is a proud partner and the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty. Moving the herd, one home at a time.
The Start Something New sales event is going on now at Corwin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Drive off in a new Ram Bighorn truck with financing as low as 1.9% and up to $9,000 off in rebates. That's 1.9% financing and up to $9,000 off on new Ram Bighorn. That's not all. Save up to $4,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokees. Your new vehicle is waiting for you at Corwin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Shop online, corwinauto.com.
KQWB West Fargo, KPFX HD3 Kindred, and K224FD Fargo. Bison 1660, powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
And here's what you need to know.
NFL teams are continuing to conduct interviews this week for their coaching vacancies. Reports say Sean Payton is scheduled to meet with the Broncos for a second interview on Wednesday. NFL media reports the Chargers will interview Rams offensive assistant Greg Olson for their offensive coordinator opening. Also from NFL media, the Ravens are interviewing Browns receivers coach and passing game coordinator Chad O'Shea for their OC opening. Reports say Cowboys running back Tony Pollard suffered a high ankle sprain and a fracture in his left leg during the loss to the 49ers. He will require surgery. In college football, Georgia receiver Radarius Thomas was arrested this morning on felony charge of false imprisonment and misdemeanor battery family violence at Athens Clarke County Jail. And at the Australian Open, there are 3 American men in the quarterfinals for the first time since 2000. Ben Shelton and Tommy Paul picked up wins overnight to join Sebastian Korda in the final 8. I'm Nick Cope.
You've got the insiders.
How you play today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered.
That's what living is. That's right. The 6 inches in front of your face.
Bringing you what you need to know and a whole lot more. Topics you care about, guests you know, and the conversations you came to hear. The Insiders are presented by Proceed. Need seed? Think Proceed.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
Insiders.
Rob Hipp and Andy Rickoff.
12:06 the time here, hour number 2 on a Monday with you on the Insiders. Andy Rickoff, Rob Hipp, Micah Bindi, gang's all here. Insiders team assembled, you could say. A little Anchorman reference for you. There you go. First hour of the show is brought to you, of course, by Rick Electric. Been serving the area for over 56 years. If you got any electrical needs for your home or your business, trust the pros at Rick Electric. If you try and do it yourself, it's going to be dangerous to do by yourself because it's electrical work. It's also going to be expensive to do by yourself, and you might do it wrong, and then it's even more expensive to fix it by yourself. So just trust the pros at Rick Electric. They provide excellent electrical services for homes and businesses. Visit them online at rickelectric.com. And start hour number 2 on this Monday. We head back to our Epic Companies hotline and bring on the voice of the Jacks, one Tyler Merriam, nice enough to give us some time and join us on the Epic Companies hotline. Actually, I believe the first time we've had him on since the national title game. So congratulations, sir. Well done. You guys got the victory. You earned it. You were the better team. And congratulations to you. I know it was a very cool personal moment for you to call a championship game there for SDSU.
Well, appreciate it, guys. Always good to catch up, and certainly it's been a whirlwind few weeks around here for a variety of reasons, and that definitely near the top of the list. So it's been a little nutty here.
What was the reaction? What was it like that week
after the win, just around campus, around Brookings, all that kind of stuff?
Well, I think certainly a lot of excitement. I mean, again, for the NDSU fan base, I think you have to go back to when the Bison won their first, because while the Jacks have been a very good program and one of the top in the FCS, and we've had this conversation a lot on the show over the years, Andy, until you actually win it, it's a different deal. And so a lot of excitement to have finally won one, and then there was all the wonder at the same time. There were a lot of people wondering about Coach John Stiglmeyer and his future, and Stig wasn't 100% sure yet, so there was kind of all these things lingering, and so it was a very exciting time, but also a lot of wondering at the same time, and eventually we got all those answers. But as you can imagine, people around here very excited. It's a first Division I national championship, first football national title, and first national title of any kind for the university in almost 2 decades.
Yeah, of course, we know the news now that Coach Stig retiring there, and I wanted to lead in with my question about this. If SDSU would not have won, and I know that we're talking hypothetically or however you want to look at it, but if they would have not won that game, would Coach Stig have came back? Or was this already kind of the writing on the wall? He was ready to go.
You know, that's a very good question, and I think in reality only John and Lori Stiglmeyer know. And I say Lori being John's wife because anybody who's had any exposure around here knows Stig has from the very beginning said it's a team decision. Lori's the head coach of the family. She's going to play a large role in that. I do know that it was something that had been thought about for a while. It's something that was certainly on the table going into Frisco, but by the same token, it was not something where everybody knew, yes, indeed, 2 weeks beforehand he was leaving. There was just the knowledge that those discussions were happening and that it was a possibility that he may decide to retire, but it wasn't a guarantee. I mean, literally, it wasn't until about a week ago. I guess a little more than that now, but it was the Friday before the announcement that Stig told Justin Sell, the AD, said we've come to our decision and we indeed are deciding that this is it and that I'm going to retire. And so again, had there been, I mean, I can't tell you what was in every coach's meeting. I can't tell you. There might have been some feelings here and there, but it wasn't a locked-in deal until, about 10 days ago now. So anything's possible, Rob. I honestly don't know.
You stole my question, Rob. I mean, you took the good question, stole it right from me. I don't know if I have nothing else to talk to Tyler about now, but no, it was a great question, and I think it is obviously something that needed to be asked because this is a coach who had a very long and decorated career and won a lot of games, but it was missing. The thing on the top of the mantle, the star on the top of the tree was missing. It was that national championship trophy, and he got it. How close do you think the decision was? Because not only did they win it, but you got basically everybody coming back. From the outside looking in, I'm saying, yeah, we lose 2 defensive linemen, but on the offensive side, you lose Tucker Kraft, and that's really it. On the defense, you lose a couple of guys, but you feel like you got guys there. Like, this is a team that's poised to make another run at it for sure. Do you think there was serious consideration to come back again?
I mean, there very well could have been, and I think there's 2 ways to look at it, right? Because you can look at it from the standpoint of, did Stig feel he could have stayed another year and won another national title? Or did he feel, hey, if I'm going to hand this off to somebody who played for me, who is someone who looks up to me, who I've coached up and basically I'm a mentor for, and I'm going to hand the reins over to, what a better way to do it than with this team in this scenario. True. And so maybe that's the way that he looked at it too, was if I'm going to hand this thing off, let's hand it off in the best possible scenario. And so I think there's something to that too. And I do think too, regardless of when Stig actually made the decision, he is not someone that was going to announce in September, this is my last year. He wasn't going to have this deal where every time that he met with the opposing media the week before a game, this is the last time you'll play this school. It's the last time you'll come to this city. He is all about deflecting. I think even some folks up there as well commented trying to talk to him after the game, and he deflected everything about his personal feelings. It was about the team and about the school and about the moment. That's just not who he is. And so it certainly is possible, like we're saying, that maybe things are different if they don't win that game, but I think for everybody involved, I think it's a great decision. I think it's wonderful for Jimmy Rogers, who's definitely more than capable to step into this role, and at the same time, Coach Stig gets to ride off into the sunset, if you will, and what a better way to wrap up your career than doing it by winning a national title.
Now, is this I'm done and I'm gone and I'm not going to be around, or is this, okay, I'm retiring from it, but I'm still going to be in the building, I'm going to be checking in a little bit, I'm going to be a consultant guy and be around it? What do you think is the routine for Stig next year? Is he around this program at all?
He is a jackrabbit through and through, and he's going to be visible. Now, when we say have a presence and be visible, he's not going to be going to practice every day. He's not going to sit in meetings. He won't do things like that. Is he going to be assisting with some fundraising? Oh, absolutely. And he's excited about that, to be involved. He's going to have a role with us on a very small level, doing a segment of the radio broadcast to kind of look back at his time as a jackrabbit and some of the history. Those types of things he'll be involved with. He wants no part of being the guy who retired but is still there and present and lurking in the shadows. That's not his thing. He wants this to be Jimmy Rogers' program. He wants Jimmy to have his opportunity to grow. So if Jimmy wants him to do something, I'm sure Stig will do it. If Justin Sell, the AD, wants him to do it, I'm sure he will. Like I said, Stig and I have already talked briefly about having him involved next fall with stuff on the radio to a very small extent. So he's going to have a presence, and everybody around here, as you can imagine, he's a South Dakota guy. He's a jackrabbit through and through. People around here love him, and they want to see him. So he'll be involved, but he's not going to be a special advisor. He's not going to be in game planning. Nothing to that extent.
Look at you already thinking he's going to be on the radio broadcast, already planning things out. Look at you. Well done. Good stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Andy. Thank you.
Well, as we talk, here again, appreciate you being on, Tyler, with Jimmy Rogers, and I just look at him as a guy that, of course, has been around the program. He knows Coach Stig well. He's been so involved, just like Coach was for so many years. Is there something different that we can expect next year? What kind of style can we see from Coach Rogers now as the head coach?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's going to be very different that you're not going to hear the holy nutmegs and whatnot. Stig had such a unique personality, still does, obviously. It didn't change, but just the unique personality. Jimmy is definitely more of your traditional football coach. Stig is just such an outlier. And to that point, again, the video tribute we did for Stig was so much about stuff off the field, which is very rare for a coach. Typically, when you honor a coach, it's everything they did on the field. And with Stig, so much of it was off because he's just such a unique individual in a very positive way. Jimmy's more cut from the traditional football cloth, much more intense, a great student athlete, a linebacker who had his battles here with NDSU and so many others in the mid-2000s during that transition and helped the Jacks win 3 conference titles and got into the playoffs for the first time in the FCS. He's been the heart and soul of that defense the last few years, co-coordinator before this year, coordinator this year on one of, if not the best defense in the FCS. So you're going to see a defensive-minded team. There's no question about that. But the biggest thing that stands out, and you kind of alluded to it, Rob, he has a tremendous amount of passion for this place. And for somebody that came from the state of Arizona and didn't really know much about this place till he got here in the mid-2000s, he really has become a jackrabbit through and through. And this place is special to him. He wears his emotions on his sleeve, and so it's hard not to like him. If you only see him from afar, he has a bit of a gruff exterior. He has that, that football mentality, that linebacker's presence, but you really get to know him, and as I say, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He wears the emotions he has. He gets choked up when he talks about his wife and his children, and it's hard not to like him and get in line when you're around that and you see that come pouring out of him.
And Tyler Merriam here with us on the Epic Companies hotline. So obviously now you move Jimmy Rogers up to be head coach. That means shuffle somebody up to defensive coordinator, got some other things working there. Do you think Jimmy Rogers calls the plays at all defensively, or do you think he hands that off?
I believe he will hand it off. He did announce at the press conference that Jesse Bobbitt, who had played as a linebacker for Jimmy a few years ago and then went to Washington State for a couple of years, came back this past year as a member of the staff. He did say in Friday's press conference that Bobbitt will be the defensive coordinator. Zach Lujan is staying on board as offensive coordinator. So unless something changes, I think the plan is for Bobbitt to take over the defensive coordinator play-calling duties. But by the same token, spoken. There haven't been a lot of discussions about that, at least externally. I'm sure internally they've had those things and they have a plan in place. But my assumption would be that Bobbitt will call him because, again, when Jimmy called plays, he called them up top in the press box. He won't be up there. He'll be down on the field. So based on all of that, I would have to assume Bobbitt will be the one who'll be making the calls defensively.
Okay, makes some sense. And then I believe running backs coach went to Western Kentucky, and defensive line coach, I think Christian Smith, went to Northwestern to actually team up with David Braun as well with the Northwestern staff. Are those correct?
Yes, and then Josh Davis left to be the offensive coordinator at USD, the former wide receivers coach here. So when you factor Stig leaving, that would be 4 openings on the staff, and I know they've been working on those, and I think there's some announcements coming, but at this point, nothing out there as far as changes within the staff other than, obviously, Rogers now the head coach, and like we said, Jimmy did announce the other day that Bobbitt would be the D coordinator.
Look at that, NDSU and SDSU working together on a Big Ten staff. You can mend bridges, It's a rivalry, but you can work together too. Again, Tyler Merriam here with us on the Epic Companies Hotline. One place you're not really replacing anybody, though, is on the actual field. You got a few guys you're going to replace on defense. You got a couple of defensive linemen and a safety as well. Offensively, I think the list of guys you lost is Tucker Kraft, and there's the list for you of big-time, huge impact players. It seems like a pretty good team coming back once again.
It certainly does. Now, obviously, we all know with the situation in college athletics being what it is, with the transfer portal and with NIL, you never say never, and anybody can be hit by it at any point in time. We've seen that certainly with NDSU, and so nothing's official till you get there. But certainly on paper, it looks very good that you'll have a lot of guys back, a lot of skill, and a lot of depth as well. And so, like you said, there's reason to believe that this team will be right back competing at the top of the FCS again next fall. Now, they also will have the gauntlet of the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Let us not forget that one of the non-conference games is Montana State, who is no slouch, having been to the Final Four in back-to-back seasons in 3 of the last 4. So it won't be easy. Jimmy Rogers will be jumping right into the fire from the frying pan. But when you look particularly at that offense and you look at all the weapons, to have Gronowski back, Davis and Johnson, the Yankee twins decided to come back, Hines officially announcing the other day that he's coming back at tight end. Kraft is certainly a significant loss, but the Jacks were without him for the first half of the season and were able to find a way to beat teams, including NDSU up in Fargo, without him. So, like you said, there's reason to be excited that this team can certainly do what it did this past year and be in contention to do it again this coming year.
How does a coach like Coach Rogers just embrace that portal? Because that does linger in the back of your mind that if, hey, there's an opportunity for guys to bounce. Does he have kind of a game plan? Has he been open about his thoughts on how all that works?
Well, I think every situation is unique for Jimmy Rogers. I think first and foremost, what the Jacks have tried so hard to do, and there's some exceptions, but keep a lot of guys, again, get Midwestern guys, and there are exceptions, but when you get guys that are closer to home, it's a little harder for them to leave. I think that certainly is helpful. It doesn't guarantee anything, obviously, but I think that's helpful. But again, every situation is unique, and so you got to kind of play things on a case-by-case basis, because sometimes you want to go to that transfer portal, sometimes you're trying to keep kids out of the transfer portal, but there isn't a specific recipe per se right now. I think, to be honest, it's been much more of, okay, you're dealing with some transition, and when there is transition, there are unknowns, and it's very easy to be scared of what you don't know when you're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. And so you got guys who, yep, we're coming back. When all of a sudden Stig announces he's retired, maybe somebody thinks twice about that, or maybe somebody says, well, I lost my position coach, or so you almost have to re-recruit some guys. That's just human nature, right? Anytime that happens, you have to go through that process. So I think that's been as much of a focus right now, is just making sure that none of those guys are going to leave, and that you keep everybody in-house, that they all have a similar message, and no doubt having a majority of your staff back, again, the 2 coordinators, because Jimmy's still there, having them back, I think that goes a long way.
Tyler, always appreciate our chats. Congratulations on getting to call that one. I know that meant a lot to you, and looking forward to talking with you again as this basketball season continues, my friend.
That's right. We got basketball, we got wrestling, there's all sorts of stuff going on here. It never ends, does it, boys?
It never does. It just keeps plugging right away. That's the best part about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, guys. You take care.
There he is, Tyler Merriam. Nice enough to stop by and give us some time on the Epic Companies Hotline. Thoughts from what he had to say? That SDSU team, they're not going away, folks. Like, if Bison fans thought, this is okay, 1 year, congratulations at your championship, NDSU's going to have everything to say about it, too. The Bison are going to be great. I'm not saying anything, that is saying this is SDSU's championship to lose or something. But SDSU's not going anywhere. Gronowski's back. That whole offense is back outside of Tucker Kraft, and they did fine without Kraft for a number of weeks. Defensively, they do lose 2 great defensive players. Winkleman, Sanders, very, very good defensive linemen, but they've got a whole bunch of other players back, including Adam Bach, so they ain't going anywhere.
It's just the carbon copy of NDSU that every team at the FCS level wants to emulate, and they have done it not just with the players, but now with the coaching staff, knowing that you get guys from your own staff that have been around the program. You don't have to go out and try to teach a new culture to somebody else. They know what the culture is. They've been there. They've played. And so, again, it's that carbon copy footprint. That's exactly the way I was hearing everything that Tyler was talking about and what we've been mentioning for the past several months.
One thing NDSU has always done is they've retained coaches. Now, do they lose coaches? Yes, absolutely. Obviously, Craig Bull eventually takes that head coaching job at Wyoming. You get Chris Clement eventually going to Kansas State. Those are kind of no-brainers, and they took a bunch of staff with them. But there's been fairly rarely where you've lost multiple coaches in an offseason. You lost Buda Williams last year. Obviously, you lost David Braun this year. That's going to be a coordinator position you got to replace and you got to fill in. But they just lost a bunch of coaches. And obviously, one's a retirement, Stig. Can't really help that one. But that takes your defensive coordinator, puts him in a different role, puts somebody else in the D coordinator spot. You lose a receivers coach, you lose a running backs coach, you lose a D-line coach. It's a lot to replace in one offseason. NDSU has always done a great job of retaining coaches, even when maybe they've been offered jobs that could have slightly been a better step up career-wise. Financially, NDSU takes care of those coaches, and they've been able to retain them for the most part. So that will be an interesting thing to see. How does the change, not complete change, but a big change in most of that coaching staff, how does that kind of play a factor in it?
Yeah, and Tyler brought up such a good point, too, that I hadn't thought about until he mentioned it, was when all these other coaches are leaving, those coaches recruited players, and so yeah, you want to say as a kid you've got loyalty to the team, but at the end of the day, sometimes you have a little bit loyalty towards that coach. And could we see guys hopping into the portal now because they say, this is the guy that brought me here, now he's leaving, I want to try to go somewhere else as well.
The thing about that, I don't know when the portal, there's a date when you have to enter the portal.
Yeah, and that's already
passed.
That's already passed. But
so I don't know if you can. Again, the portal's just wild, wild west. I have no idea what's going on with it.
One thing that NDSU has done well, and they have had 2 successful changes at head coach, and they've still been able to win championships. Can SDSU do the same thing? It is hard to do that because every head coach or every coach does stuff differently. Whether you run a drill differently, how you speak to a team differently, run meetings differently, it changes slightly. Can SDSU still have the same success with Rogers at head coach?
And one thing Tyler said that's absolutely true. I think of it from the perspective of, if I'm Stig, I'm coming back because this team's loaded. Let's go back for another one. Well, if you want to hand it off to someone and give it to them in a great situation when they are set up for success, he did that for Jimmy Rogers.
It is a very good.
Puts a lot of pressure, but you have players. It's a capable team. Now it puts pressure on you more than it would be if it was a complete overhaul or something like that. But also, okay, these are kind of the players I've coached a little bit. I know what we can do here as well, and it does set you up for success. That is helpful. A bit of a two-edged sword there, because also it means a lot more pressure if it doesn't come through, because you've seen these guys have success, but it does set him up for success.
I go back to Dallas. I said I wasn't going to talk about him, but it's the one thing I can think of when Barry Switzer comes on and he rides that Jimmy Johnson wave of guys, and then they win the Super Bowl, and the next year they're terrible, and Barry's out. So there is a tremendous amount of pressure on you as a coach to take over a team that is already at the top. NDSU has done that, as Micah pointed out, very well with the coaches over the years.
Absolutely have. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Plenty more to get into here in hour number 2 next.
The most complete Bison coverage in the region. Your Bison Nation station, Bison 1660.
Businesses should know that Consolidated Communications has the only data center in the FM area that is SOC 2 certified. That means Consolidated has tested reliable systems in place to protect your valuable data. That's more important than ever with today's security concerns. Many business insurance companies require SOC certification at data storage facilities. You should work with a local data center that is SOC 2 certified. For scalable, cost-effective data center solutions for your changing business needs, go to consolidated.com/datacenter.
Dakota Refrigeration, now known as DRI, has been serving Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, DRI is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical service needs. From the entryway to the kitchen, from hot to cold, from dreary to bright, DRI has you covered. DRI, formerly Dakota Refrigeration, with locations in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot, online at dacref.com.
The Start Something New sales event is going on now at Corwin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Drive off in a new Ram Bighorn truck with financing as low as 1.9% and up to $9,000 off in rebates. That's 1.9% financing and up to $9,000 off on new Ram Bighorn. That's not all. Save up to $4,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokees. Your new vehicle is waiting for you at Corwin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Shop online, corwinauto.com.
Theraldson Ethanol in Castleton is accepting applications for an E&I technician. Applicant must have experience with electrical and instrumentation repairs and maintenance of large machinery and equipment, as well as a willingness to learn procedures for the ethanol industry. Journeyman electrical license or greater is required in addition to 3 years of experience. Work Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Apply online at theraldsonethanol.com or email your resume to hr@theraldsonethanol.com.
I think what makes Proceed win is we're different than the other companies in many ways with our programming, our simplicity, our non-corporate attitudes, and our personal relationship building.
What Proceed is, we bring back the old-fashioned seed buying experience. We're true seedsmen. We care about everything from the sale to the planting to following up afterwards. That's what we're all about, is just trying to bring that experience back to a personal level.
Need seed? Think Proceed. Proceed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
Stop by Gateway Chevrolet and check out their great selection of in-stock Chevy cars and trucks ready for immediate delivery. Take advantage of invoice pricing on new 2023 Chevrolet Equinox and invoice pricing on new 2023 Chevrolet Silverados only at Gateway Chevrolet. Plus, find out about 2.9% financing on select Chevrolet models. That's right, 2.9% on select Chevrolets and invoice pricing on 2023 Equinox and Silverados at Gateway Chevrolet. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
Hail to Bison, right here, your home for NDSU sports. This is Bison 1660.
The Insiders brought to you, as always, by the great folks at Proceed. If you need seed, think Proceed, home of the right choice and right stuff programs, online at proceed.net to learn more. And you can watch our shows on our Facebook page, Bison 1660. By the way, shout out to Bison Nation for a couple of things. One, that atmosphere was great on Thursday night, and I think Saturday's crowd was pretty good too, but how good was that crowd on Thursday night? I know it wasn't a sellout. Got to get some more people in there, but I felt the bucket hats were easily recognizable and seen on the pictures I saw, and I felt like it was a good crowd.
It was close. I mean, it was close. I didn't pull up the official number, but it was close there on Thursday versus Oral Roberts.
It's like 3,400, something like that.
Seemed like there was more. I mean, there was bucket hats everywhere, though, so it was great. Good turnout. The energy was absolutely there. Bison Nation was on their feet throughout, half of that game, and that's the energy these young men need. It is a truly unique atmosphere to be in and to be a part of that and to be around the crowd. One thing that I always enjoy, too, that I never want to not mention and make sure that I always mention is the Gold Star Marching Band. And those guys bring a lot of energy. I love hearing that on the back of a college basketball broadcast because I've called games before at the collegiate level where the band wasn't there.
The marching band?
Well, not marching, but
pep band.
The pep band,
gotcha,
yeah.
Gotcha.
The pep band.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be cool to have the marching band. Let's get them in there and just march.
Just marching
no,
the
pep band. It was good to have them there as well. So it's good to have the band members there and just to bring that helps solidify the energy. I love hearing that in the background.
Yeah, no, I mean that's iconic with college sports for sure. Wherever you go, and sometimes the radio broadcast is like right next to the pep band. I'm like, guys, I need the horns a little bit quieter, a little less trumpet in that one. But yeah, they're great, phenomenal, and loved seeing that atmosphere there on Thursday night, and also a little bit there on Saturday. Make sure you come out. It's obviously NDSU versus UND. That's a huge game Friday night, so make sure we pack the shack for that one. We do have some tickets to that game that we'll be giving away here this week. But also, shout out to Bison Nation for our Twitter account at Bison1660 on Twitter. Over 5,006 followers now, so over 5K. Appreciate that, Bison Nation. Thanks for following us
And make sure you do. If you don't already, go follow us at Bison1660 there on Twitter for the latest things on NDSU athletics and a whole bunch more. But you can watch the shows on our Facebook page, which is also up there in followers. Bison1660 on Facebook. Watch the shows there, live shows for you every day, brought to you by Horsch on our Horsch Cam. Horsch Farming with Passion online at horsch.com, HORSCH.com. That was kind of my roundabout way of mentioning the Horsch Cam. Started with Facebook, went to Twitter, went to basketball, and then got it back to Horsch Cam.
And here's my roundabout way to go and thank you to our listeners. How about Roger Mansky from West Fargo? Whenever we were talking earlier about who else would be America's team, well, he said, good pick, Andy. Go Steelers. So appreciate Roger. And
must be a Steelers fan.
Other messages coming in as well, so we appreciate everybody. John was chiming in, going back to our discussion earlier about Dallas. So as long as Jones and his ego get in the way, and the way it's going to be, reason they haven't won since Jimmy Johnson was in charge. And then, just like I mentioned earlier, Barry was just given his from Jimmy. That's exactly what I'd mentioned before even reading that text. You were right on the money there, John.
Yep. A couple of text messages coming in there. Send us your thoughts on the weekend of games, 701-476-1660. I said Steelers. So that should be another team other than the Cowboys to be America's team. The Cowboys are only America's team because they, it was a flash in the pan early in the 90s and stuff, and they won a lot of games, and they're kind of the glitz and glamour. I really don't think they're America's team. They may be America's team to hate because most people hate on the Cowboys. But I said Steelers would make sense. Do you have another team that would make sense in terms of, America's team that actually represents America? I think the Steelers represent America. Consistency.
The one that I always allude back to was right after 9/11. It was the Patriots. I mean, they had the Patriots, America. To me, that was like America's team for a while because Tom Brady, his name was getting plastered on everything. Drew Bledsoe was there before, obviously, but I always felt like for a moment, and not just because they were winning, but just because the country had been through so much after 9/11, that brought the country back together. New England, to me, was America's team for a while, not so much anymore.
Pains me to say this, but I would say the Packers. I would say the Packers.
No.
It's about togetherness. I know your Packer hatred. Come on.
No.
Small town, anyone can do it. Cheer for the underdog, the United States, the underdog.
But I think the Steelers are more of a model of consistency. Again, just the 3 head coaches in 60 years. Mike Tomlin had a terrible team this year, and they still were above 500. Model of consistency, Steelers, hard worker, steel worker, all that kind of stuff. And I know Green Bay's small. I think America's a little over the small townness, a little bit.
I like this. I think small town is more America than big towns. Still have those.
I'm going Steelers.
Those rituals,
Not doing it.
that culture, those beliefs. Those are embedded in small towns like North Dakota.
Traitor.
You got to go back.
Traitor.
It's the Packers. That's
Steelers.
what I would say.
Steelers.
I don't. You go back to the Cowboys. I think it was 1978. NFL Films had a video, and that's where they first got the nickname of America's team. And then Roger Staubach, his nickname was Captain America. So that's kind of where everything started. But 1978 to 2023, it's time to drop that. As a Cowboys fan, I don't believe that anymore. I haven't believed it since the late 90s.
Get to an NFC Championship game, and then we'll talk about you some more. Until then,
do it consistently.
Stop talking about it. You have to do it consistently. Vikings have only been there 3 times in my lifetime, but they've been there a couple times. Not consistently, but
you
don't have to be the Chiefs in there 5 years in a row.
You have to be there consistently, in my opinion, to get that brand of we're America's team now again.
Jerry Jones just cares more about dollars than wins. Just say it that way.
It's not America's team; it's Jerry's team.
As long as the buzz is around the Cowboys and the media is talking about the Cowboys like we are, kind of right now, it'll always be America's team because America's always talking about it.
Well, then we're going to stop talking about them.
Let's stop talking about them. I don't like the Cowboys.
Instead, we're going to talk about what Dan had to say about. I hear a lot of talk about Sean Payton being considered for this job or that job, but please recap for me what his role in Bountygate was. Why should he be getting the attention he is as an analyst and commentator and potential head coaching jobs? I have not come around to the point of forgiveness of him for that. From Dan on the text line. Sean Payton was the head coach of the Saints when Bountygate happened. He was suspended for, I believe, an entire season for his role in Bountygate. There's actually a movie based off that season of him having to be away from the Saints for an entire year.
And they made him look like a protagonist.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think he's got to answer for that a little bit. But we're also so far past that now that it's not going to be brought up in an interview. Fans, you might care about it, but
14 years later,
if your team signed him to be their head coach, you'd forget about it in a heartbeat. You'd be over as long as he wins games. The thing about Sean Payton and why he's so highly regarded is because, Bountygate was a bad thing, but also they were playing really well as a team before. And he reinvigorated that team. That was a bad team. Brought in Drew Brees, who people thought was kind of done over the hill, done with his career, and made him one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. Had a defensive coordinator that was great, too, was able to instill some confidence on the defensive side, not just be the offensive head coach that doesn't deal with the defense, but he was really a full team coach and a head coach. And he comes with an aura of winning. And people think Sean Payton, and he's one of those guys where you line up on a Sunday, you say, we got the better coach. We're going to be able to out-coach you. Maybe we don't win the game, but we got the better coach here. And you always go in the game and say, do we have the better quarterback? Maybe, maybe not. Do we have the better defense? Okay. Do we have the better head coach? Well, with Sean Payton, you'd feel good in most games, not every game, but in most games you'd go into the game saying, yeah, we got the better coach in this one. I feel like we're going to be prepared.
Yeah, we just talked about Mike Tomlin having a horrible team with Pittsburgh. He almost got them to the playoffs at 9-8. He hasn't had a losing season. Head coaches can do that to teams that aren't always that talented. And Sean Payton is a guy that can do that, especially make your offense really, really good when you might just be supposed to be average.
He's going to be able to pick his spot, too. I think he's going to get whatever spot he wants. If he ends up wanting a spot or not, we'll have to see. But Sean Payton's a really good coach. That's why he's going to be considered for all that stuff. By the way, we mentioned it in the first hour. We'll mention it again here in hour number 2. Text the keyword BOAT, B-O-A-T. I always love spelling it out, just in case, BOAT, to 701-476-1660 for your chance to win 2 tickets to the 2023 Red River Valley Boat and Marine Product Show at the Fargo Dome, January 27th through the 29th. We'll give away tickets today and the rest of the week leading up to the boat show until it gets going there on that 27th.
Let's see if we can get a Bison 1660 boat. What would we name that boat?
We would absolutely broadcast from that. If someone wants to give us a Bison 1660 boat, we'll broadcast from that thing every day during the summer. We'll pump up so much advertising for you.
Yeah, we need that. Make that happen. We'll be out there. We'll just be chilling.
And Rob Hipp will get so sunburned. It'd be hilarious.
I feel like Tatanka is too bad of a name because that's Hunter Lipke.
And now that he's gone from the program, we need something that's gonna have. It's got to have staying power. It's got to be able to last.
I don't know what to name a boat. I've never named one before.
I am glad that you brought up how to spell boat. Everybody knows B-O-A-T.
Yeah.
But if you didn't, B-O-T-E, it kind of chimes in with Sean Payton because the word boat, B-O-T-E, by definition, it's compensation such as for injury to a person or honor.
Oh, okay. Injury to a person, just like Bountygate.
Boat.
And that was more Greg Williams. I've always hated Greg Williams more. I never understood why he kept getting defensive coordinator jobs when he literally told people, go out and end Brett Favre's career. We want that guy on a stretcher. That's what he said. And let's bring him back as a head coach. Let's bring him back as defensive coordinator. No. I always viewed Greg Williams. Now, was Sean Payton complicit in it? Absolutely. Deserved the punishment he got. But I always viewed Greg Williams as a terrible human being, much less coach.
That's a football guy right there.
No, you literally told people to go out and kill somebody.
Rip his arm off.
Terrible human being, much less a football coach out there. But that was just my thoughts on it. Boat. We get a Bison 1660 boat. What would we name it? Code something, I feel like.
I'd just call it SS Bison.
Code Green.
It'd just be SS Bison.
Code C's. It's on a sea boat, though. It's a lake boat. We'll figure it out.
Text us. What would you name?
What would you name our Bison 1660
boat? We had Bison 1660 pontoon. What would we name it?
Text
I think
us.
pontoon's what we got to go with.
Yeah.
Not like a speedboat.
We like big. Yeah, we want big.
And we need space for all the broadcasting gear we're going to have, and have other people on the boat too, like a studio. So
I'm sure our engineer Jake would love that challenge.
He would.
Need to make sure it has a bar down below deck too.
Make sure all of it is waterproof, all that kind of stuff. Jake would just love this idea of broadcasting live on a boat where there's great Wi-Fi. I'm sure everywhere the signal's going to be
right in the middle of the lake.
Exactly. So send us what you think the Bison 1660 pontoon name would be. We'll take a break, though. We'll come back. Plenty of hour number 2. All these shenanigans continue next.
Champions play here. Your home for the Thundering Herd. Bison 1660.
So most companies claim they have good people, good product, good customer service, but the question is how often. We go the extra mile to take care of our dealers and our growers, and more importantly, their families and their customers.
ProSeed tries to bring a family-like experience. Farmers, we want to understand what their challenges are. We also want to bring products to them that help them overcome those challenges so that they can be as successful as possible.
Need seed? Think ProSeed. Proseed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
Hey, business owners. You have your banker, you have your insurance guy, but do you have your door guy? Now you do. DavTech Window Services also specializes in commercial door and window repair and replacement. DavTech is proud to be known for their excellent commercial services as on the NDSU campus. Choose the door and window experts that will deliver top-rated products as well as the experienced technicians that do it right the first time. A decade of service with a century of experience. Online at DavTechWindowServices.com. That's DavTechWindowServices.com.
Hi, I'm Grant Nelson, NDSU Bison basketball player. Whether it's playing basketball or driving in my car, I want to do everything to the best of my ability, on the court and off the court. So when I'm in the car, I up my game with the Drive for Less program from Nodak Insurance. I could save up to 30% on my premium just for driving safely. To me, that's a slam dunk. Download the Nodak Insurance app today.
Theraldson Ethanol, the ethanol plant located in Castleton, is accepting applications for a process operator. Work 4 days on, 4 days off, night and day swing shifts. Applicant must have a general understanding of process and operating procedures and a willingness to learn procedures for the ethanol industry. Theraldson Ethanol offers on-the-job training and an excellent benefits program. Email your resume to hr@theraldsonethanol.com or apply in person at 3549 153rd Avenue Southeast in Castleton.
Did you know hyperbaric oxygen can decrease inflammation and speed up your healing process dramatically? I'm Menley with Fargo's first hyperbaric oxygen center, Healing with Hyperbarics, conveniently located off 45th Street. We are celebrating 4 years in Fargo, and as the experts in treating concussions, brain injuries, sports injuries, and post-COVID symptoms, we welcome you to find out how we can help you heal. We have an FDA-approved device to diagnose concussions and can treat the same day to get you back to feeling better faster. Find out how we can help you at healingwithhyperbarics.com.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
A sunny Monday with highs in the mid-20s, gusty winds close to 30 miles per hour. Overnight, mostly cloudy with a low near 10, wind gusts as high as 20. And on Tuesday, skies will remain mostly cloudy with highs near 26 degrees, south winds 9 to 14 miles per hour. This weather update is brought to you by Brady's Service Center in Moorhead. Brady's Service Center is your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs, and with donuts, breakfast, and lunch items daily, they're also your one-stop shop for all your road trip needs.
Don't let your profits get stuck in your truck this spring. Dirt, rock, let it slide with Super Slide. Super Slide is a plastic, non-stick, self-lubricating, and seamless liner that eliminates haulback in your dump box or dump trailer. Super Slide is available in various grades, widths, and thicknesses, and Horn Plastics can have you in and out in no time. Get your new liner now to ensure you maximize productivity and profitability in 2023. Super Slide from Horn Plastics, created and preferred for every job. Visit hornplastics.com to schedule your installation.
Are you an electrician? Are you looking for a change? JDP Electric is looking for commercial, industrial, and service electricians. JDP is looking for both journeyman and apprentice electricians. You could start your career today with a family-owned and operated business who's been serving our community for over 20 years. Full-time positions available with great pay and benefits. Call 701-232-1991 or email info@jdpelectric.net. Start your new tomorrow today. Come be a part of the JDP difference.
Corwin Public Wholesale is conducting a special used vehicle buyback. Any used car, truck, or SUV, we will buy it. Trying to trade your vehicle and not getting what it's worth? We will buy it. Need some extra cash? We will buy it. Whether it's worth $500,000 or $50,000, we will buy it. We want to buy your vehicle. Corwin Public Wholesale, right on the price, right on the I-29 frontage road, Fargo.
These days, we're all looking for ways to save some cash. Have you looked at your insurance? Talk to your Nodak Insurance Company agent, because the more you insure with Nodak Insurance, the lower your premiums. Work with one local agent to package your home, autos, or excess liability, everything you care about. Then watch the savings add up. Ask your Nodak Insurance agent how you can save with a multi-line discount. Nodak Insurance Company, agents with answers.
Dakota Refrigeration, now known as DRI, has been serving Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, DRI is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical service needs. From the entryway to the kitchen, from hot to cold, from dreary to bright, DRI has you covered. DRI, formerly Dakota Refrigeration, with locations in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot, online at dacref.com.
At Wimmer's Diamonds, we believe in love, in family, and traditions.
Hi, this is Aaron Wimmer inviting you to visit our new showroom where we can help you find the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. For more than 103 years, our family's been helping your family celebrate the special moments with beautiful reminders of love. Wimmer's Diamonds, 4582 32nd Avenue South in Fargo.
2 hours of sports talk every weekday, 11 to 1.
Oh my gracious!
Now, let's get back to the Insiders.
Final couple of segments for us today on the show. Tomorrow, by the way, Bison going to be on the show, talking NDSU UND, little Summit League shoot-around, usually 2 guests. We're just going to go 1 guest, just Bison, and double dose. We're going to go men's and women's UND with Bison tomorrow.
Love having Bison on, man. He's a man of many words and a lot of knowledge, and
Yes.
it's always great to have him on.
Yeah, and always fun to have him on, so he'll be joining us for the Summit League shoot-around tomorrow. Also have reached out to a couple of different 49ers reporters. Going to try and get that perspective ahead of the NFC Championship game. What does Brock Purdy and his success mean for Trey Lance and his future? I think that's a legitimate question to start asking. They keep going and keep playing well. At some point, you're just like, okay, Brock Purdy's kind of the guy, isn't he? And what happens with Trey? So a couple of 49ers guests on this week as well.
It's a legitimate discussion, and it was one thing that I was thinking whenever I watched that Cowboys game, to be honest, there at the end. I told you I only got to watch a few minutes of it there and caught up on the highlights, but that was going through my mind during that game. I was like, Purdy is not playing bad.
No.
And what's that going to mean
This is
for
against
Trey?
a great defense, too.
And
He
you
didn't
hate
play
that.
great.
You hate that for
but-
Trey. You
Yeah,
hate it for him.
Absolutely, I do. There's also a part of me,
Gotta
though,
go
that
with what's
says,
working.
let's say next season they go back to Trey. If Purdy's there, again, it's the same situation he was with Jimmy Garoppolo. If you're Trey Lance and you're starting and Purdy is the backup, you can't have one bad game, because you have one bad game, everyone's going to start chanting for Purdy again and again and again and again. They're going to want Purdy, Purdy, Purdy. And you're not going to give Trey Lance a fair chance. And he hasn't had enough football. He's not going to be perfect because he hasn't played enough football. Purdy played 4 or 5 years at Iowa State. He's like 25 years old. Trey is still like 21, maybe 22 now. Hasn't played a consistent season in, 4 years? Since his freshman year, his redshirt freshman year at NDSU. So if he gets traded, I actually don't think it's the worst thing in the world for him. Because I think if you're Trey, you want to go somewhere where you're going to have a long leash, there's no one behind you, and a team just has to give you a fair chance. And I don't know if San Fran's going to be that place.
I don't see them doing that just because the history of injuries at quarterback that San Fran had, they wouldn't be in this position if they didn't have Brock Purdy.
Correct.
If they didn't have Brock Purdy and if they didn't draft him at with the last pick, they wouldn't be in this position, right? Or maybe they could, but you don't know for sure. But also with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, competitors compete. Iron sharpens iron. So you just hope that drives him to be even better than we know he is, and hopefully he becomes a prolific starter.
I mean, that's the same thing for Brock Purdy, too, that I just mentioned. If Purdy's the starter next year and Trey's healthy and on the sidelines, if Purdy, year 2, people have a book on you a little bit more, and Purdy has 2 or 3 bad games, everyone's going to start saying, we got Trey Lance. He's a 3rd overall pick. Why are we not using this guy? It's the same thing for him, I guess. Kind of plays that same way.
And from what we saw and what I was seeing on Twitter, especially from people that were following the 49ers-Cowboys game, they were saying Dan Quinn was trying to expose a weakness, and he did it kind of in that first half where he was forcing Purdy to leave the pocket early and wanting him to get a little antsy and flood to his left. Because, if you're a right-handed quarterback, you'd rather go to the right. It's just much easier to throw on the run that way. And he just kept forcing him to go left on like a 3rd and 2. He wasn't comfortable throwing left.
Can you do me a huge favor and say Purdy's last name 3 times, Micah?
Purdy.
Andy, can you say it?
No. I don't know where this is going, so I refuse.
It had a little southern twang to it when Andy said it earlier because he goes, Purdy.
Brock Purdy.
I like it.
Okay.
But I don't,
Rubbing off.
but I want to see Trey Lance back in there. So sorry, Purdy.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I want Trey Lance to make sure he has a fair chance and a fair spot. So I don't think they will trade him. That's a dumb move.
They'd have to get a lot of picks back.
Thing is, if you're ever going to trade him, you do it now before his stock falls more. He doesn't play again, backs up Purdy. Like at some point, that shiny new toy loses its luster a little bit. If you're going to trade him, you probably want to do it this offseason. So that's a question for the guys when we have him on, for the 49ers reporters. But I can't help but think about that when I see Brock Purdy doing what he's doing. I know Jimmy Garoppolo there next year. He's going to be a free agent and go somewhere else. So you'd want to have 2 good quarterbacks there, but also you don't want to just have Trey Lance and sit him on the sidelines when you could have maybe traded him for a couple of firsts or a first and a second. I don't know if you get 2 firsts for him anymore, but a first and a second, I think you could still possibly get that
from a team that's quarterback desperate and thinks they are a quarterback away and loved Trey Lance out of the draft and said, hey, let's go get this guy. We loved him before. He's still a great player. Let's go out and get him. You could get something for him here this offseason. We'll talk about that probably later on in the week. Again, text in the keyword BOAT to 701-476-1660. We'll give away some boat show tickets here in just a little bit. The show, as always, brought to you by Proceed, home of the Right Choice and Right Stuff programs, online at proceed.net. And you can call in on our Epic Companies hotline, 701-476-1660. Take our final break of the program, come back, wrap things up, and give away some tickets to the boat show when we come back.
Always having a good time, but never letting it get out of hand.
I approach you from the front and kind of like, wow, this dude's pretty serious. Then I walk away and you're like, he likes to party with 2 R's.
You've got the Insiders on Bison 1660.
About a month ago, we had some unexpected plumbing issues. We called Valley Service Mechanical in a panic and were pleasantly surprised with the professional that came to our rescue. He took the time to explain the issues to us, and you could really tell he enjoyed what he was doing and the pride he had representing Valley Service Mechanical.
When your heating and cooling needs help and your plumbing is on the fritz, call Valley Service Mechanical, 701-293-5701. Online at valleyservice.net.
Sight on Sound knows car audio and its evolution over time. For the longest time, it was basically like listening to a conch shell. Then things got better with stereophonic sound. Then HD was next. Until now, high-res audio. Your sound system has never sounded this crisp, this clear. And you'll find all the cutting-edge sounds at Sight on Sound. With products fully in stock, a trip to Sight on Sound has never sounded better. Sight on Sound, Main Avenue, Fargo.
Bring it on home from Sight on Sound.
CHI Friendship is participating in Giving Hearts Day on February 9th. Every donation will be matched up to $15,000 and used to enrich the lives of people with disabilities. And join CHI Friendship at their chili feed from 11 to 1 on Giving Hearts Day at their Fargo location.
Hey everyone, my name is Justin and I'm the general manager at Corwin Honda. I wanted to let you know that the wait is finally over and I have over 50 new 2022 pilots ready to sell and I don't want these sitting on my lot. So right now, I'll take up to $2,000 off all 2022 pilots, and you can get financing as low as 1.9%. That's right, up to $2,000 off, and financing as low as 1.9%. So come visit us over at Corwin Honda or shop online today at corwinauto.com.
Rice Companies understands that strong buildings and strong communities start with strong connections. They know the importance of every bolt, every beam, and every handshake. Every connection must be strong. When you work with Rice Companies, you're building on more than concrete and steel. You're building on knowledge and expertise with people you can trust. People who value your investment as much as you do. Connect with Rice Companies, your local Butler builder, and experience the difference strong connections can make for your business. Learn more and see career opportunities at ricecompanies.com.
NDSC Safety and Health Conference features 3 top-notch keynotes, almost 100 sessions, 140-plus exhibitors, 58 speakers, and 19 live-stream sessions. Attend in person or live-stream from your work or home, February 21st through the 24th. Register now at ndsc.org.
Why the sad face? My hip has been hurting so much. I even had to miss dance. Did you know that you can make an appointment with Anna at Apex Physical Therapy? She helped me when I got injured, and she'll get you back on the stage in no time.
Anna is Fargo Moorhead's expert in treating dancers and musicians. Call 701-364-2739 to set up an appointment. Check out all that Apex Physical Therapy and Wellness has to offer at apexptwellness.com.
If you need any professional advice, they may not be your guys.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
But if you need information on NDSU, then they got you covered. It's the Insiders on Bison 1660.
Final segment for us on the day. Been a fun one. Had Dexter Werner on. Start things off. Had some Tyler Merriam in there at noon. Good info, good insight on what the future of the coaching situation looks like there at SDSU. Sounds like Jimmy Rogers is not going to be calling the plays. We're going to hand that over to the new DC, and you're going to be the guy on the sidelines taking over for Stig. And it's a loaded team coming back. He's got a good situation there for SDSU in his first year.
Also tomorrow, as we mentioned, got the Summit League Shooter-On and a few other things in the works the rest of the week. But you do have a chance still to win those boat show tickets. Text in BOAT to 701-476-1660. We'll give away those in about a minute. So text in really quickly, and then we'll pull the winner here in just about 30 or 40 seconds. Couple of interesting things over the weekend. The Chiefs get the win, but also get a sprained ankle from Patrick Mahomes, and that one looked brutal. You came in and played the rest of the game. That tends to be an injury where you can play that day, adrenaline's running and flowing through, and you're able to tough it out. See what he does this week and what this week looks like. He's going to play, but even if Mahomes can't move around in the pocket, if he's a statue there, I feel like that kind of is a big bonus for the Bengals.
It's a huge limitation for Kansas City and a huge bonus for the Bengals because we know how mobile Mahomes is, and he needs that. That's how he throws the ball. If he's not able to do what he does, it's going to be a tough night for Kansas City.
Extend the plays. I think if you're Cincinnati, you're trying to take away the quick throws. Don't give him the quick, easy stuff. Make him float around in that pocket a little bit, and then you can't tell a person to stop doing what they've done their whole life. He's going to try and scramble and try and move around, so that's going to be difficult for him to play without maybe that ability to move and those limitations with a bum ankle, which is too bad because he's a great player. You'd like to see him at full strength, but at least he's able to play a little bit and not to sell that entire game.
I think the rest of the way, I'm going Bengals now, all the way.
Bengals all the way?
I'm going for the Bengals.
On the Bengals bandwagon. Rob Hipp.
I'm on the bandwagon.
So when they lose, ice bucket?
No, we're not doing any more of those.
That's probably smart. We'll do that tomorrow. Facebook Live tomorrow, the ice bucket for the Cowboys loss. But big thanks to all of you guys for listening, and congratulations to Wayne. Wayne with the win of the boat show tickets today. Wayne in Fargo gets the victory on that one. And again, text in. We're going to get in contact with Wayne. So if you don't see a text from us, that means you weren't the right Wayne, if there's another Wayne out there listening. But a Wayne in Fargo winning those boat show tickets. And we'll give away more tickets the rest of the week as well. And back with another edition of The Insiders for you tomorrow.
Snow, ice, and below zero temps. Typical Midwest weather, but not so kind to your vehicle. That's why Jiffy Lube of Fargo is here to make sure you have your vehicle in top working condition and ready for